Today is September the 15th, another beautiful Saturday. How is everyone doing? I'm your host, Frosthaven, and I'm joined here, also hosted by the Utility Man today. We're doing a duo. Not a duel, not a duet yet, anyways. I don't think we're drunk enough for a duet.
We're Warp Stage 2 today.
Warp Stage 2. Yeah, it's okay, chat. You guys can be our three. You guys can be our three. So how is everyone doing today? It's a pleasure to see you all. You notice we took a break last week, so we're coming back this week with some information regarding Pete Hines. He recently had an interview with Game Central. It's got some Fallout stuff in it, but it's really it's almost more of a meta interview about stuff in the industry. And you have to remember Pete Hines is a PR guy, right? So like, I think one of the unwritten rules of PR is you're not allowed to badmouth anything you do, ever.
I don't know. After Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it may be the fact that you can flat out lie to the fans in order to protect yourself. So
tell me lies, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. And then, of course, the Nintendo Direct stuff, which Utility is going to get into. What's your overall feeling? Was it kind of? And we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that and get back into it.
Well, if I had to choose one word to describe the Direct, I'd be hard pressed to pick between disappointing and
yeah. It
wasn't great.
I gotcha. Ryan sounds a bit quiet. Okay, I can turn Ryan up. Ryan, would you like to say something now?
I'm all turned up, I hope.
As long as you're not turned on, I think that would be worse. Anyways, so going right back to what we were doing this week, and I guess last week too. What have you been up to over the past 2 weeks, Utility Man? And anyone in chat, you guys can tell me what you've been up to as well. Thank you for the 50 bits. Hey, guys.
Okay. So last week, I actually decided to get a head start on things and plan out what I wanted to do for Warp Stage 3 days in advance and go do all my research and whatnot, and we ended up having to take a break for that week. So
we actually, I didn't want to tell you this. We had a meeting of the minds while you were doing all your research and sweating profusely and changing shirts from the amount of sweat you were working up. We had a meeting of the minds and we say, Ryan's working really hard. What do you think would happen if we just didn't do it, right? Like if we just didn't do it, what do you think would? And then that's what happened.
Yeah. The first week I have everything planned out in advance. First, they were going to have the Nintendo Direct. Then that got scrapped, so I had to rush and come up with a new topic. And then my new topic was going to be about rumors that were coming up, which was scrapped because the Nintendo Direct ended up happening a week later.
Yep.
So it's been a topsy-turvy week. But Allison wanted me to mention one particular thing. Since I said 2 weeks ago I started playing Alpha Sapphire, I've been spending hours on hand using one of the new features that they introduced in it called the Dex Nav.
What the hell is a Dex Nav? Yeah, I don't know.
So basically what the Dex Nav is depending on how much you run into a Pokemon increases your search level, what they say. And your search level gives you data before you run into a particular Pokemon. Like you can see what level the Pokemon's going to be. You can see how much potential the Pokemon has, which is IVs, things like that.
Okay, all right, so automatically I could see where I would use that, and I would almost feel bad. I would look at different Pokemon, because you said potential, and I would look at one that's got better potential than the other, and I would just be like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed in this dojo. You have no potential, and release them back out into the wild, like probably crying with big eyes.
So I actually spent several hours grinding through battle after battle until I could get a full team of max potential Pokemon. And I don't even play competitive, so that's what I've been doing.
Oh my god. So you really have taken the OCD route.
I can't help it. Like, I think about it, it's like, okay, so I could catch this Pokemon, but his potential's only, down here. No, I gotta have that one, and it'll drive me crazy until I get that one. So while it's an amazing new feature, it's also a double-edged sword for those of us with OCD.
Okay, so I've got to ask, is that like one of the secret reasons you would never get into something like Fallout or Skyrim because of the OCD to collect everything?
No.
Would that bother
actually...
you?
Now, I did play a little bit of Oblivion, and I will say it bothered me in the starting area where there's like 15 things to pick up, and most of them probably won't do anything, but you don't know. Mm-hmm. I have to hoard them all. So that does bother me, yes.
See, I run into that with Fallout 4 and all Fallout games, really. Like, I know before I've told you about having to start my entire game over to get like that one unique piece of armor because I didn't sneak pickpocket it. But now it's even worse because people have devised a list. And for anyone who has OCD in collectathon games, I'm talking to you. You're going to want to see that list. So I looked at this list, and even the junk items that you just normally scrap, there are unique junk items that only one of them are in the game. A full list of them. And so obviously on my hit list, I've got a big checklist to go down and collect each individual junk item just so that I could place it at my settlement in the sanctuary and just have it there. Like, look at this. I've collected these digital goods. And they're unique. I did it.
See, I had that same problem in World of Warcraft. You do a particular quest, it gives you like a cooking recipe that you can only get on this quest. Well, I may not do cooking, but if I get rid of this recipe, I can never get it again. Now I've got to store it in the bank.
Yep, that's exactly what my bank was. It was nothing but collection stuff that I will never touch. And I'll probably never look at, but as an OCD collector, there's something in you. Knowing it's there makes your day survivable. It's so weird to think about, though, isn't it?
I know. I guess that's why I'm so OCD about getting physical copies of games. I can't get digital most of the time. Like, unless that is the only possible way to play that game, I cannot get a digital version.
That's fair. And Hidden Spike Trap said she's been playing Stardew Valley. I still haven't even touched that game. It looks interesting.
I thought it looked kind of relaxing. Definitely not my kind of game, but it was enjoyable to watch her play it.
I will say what's interesting to me is watch like how quickly you two can shift gears. You're really good at being able to shift gears. Like you go from Enter the Gungeon, yelling at each other over dying and ammo and going absolutely nuts, like 1,000 miles an hour bullet hell dodging, into Stardew Valley. And then right back into bullet hell. It's so crazy that you guys can just do that.
Well, we do want to take a moment to point out the greatness of her very brand new chicken Happy Meal.
So, okay, I want to know what's the current status of Happy Meal, and what was it? Tom was the other name of the chicken?
Yeah, and one of them's named Ray, but I think we had to shoot him. Not because there was anything wrong with him, but we realized the issue naming him Ray afterwards. When some of the other chickens started moving out.
Oh, poor Ray. P.S. I told Ryan this earlier, but I named my first cow Witchu after the random name thing on stream showed me that one. What?
I told her she'll have to name the second cow Always Be, so you can have Always Be Witchu.
Oh, you know what? This is going to be Warp Stage 1. I'm going to have to ask that you... In fact, hold on. I can make this a reality. I can make this a reality somewhere. I don't feel like finding it in this list. I could have made it a reality. Okay, we'll just pretend you're not there. It's hiding from me, is what's happening.
Okay, well, I guess the topics today are Pete Hines.
Oh, there it is. Bye.
God.
All right, Warp Stage 1, everybody.
Good luck talking about the direct.
That's okay. I'll wing it. I can just wing it. That's no problem. And he's back.
Gosh.
So I've been playing Fallout 4. I know last time we ran a show, I mentioned I was going to get back into it just to get my mindset in there for 76. But I did one thing that maybe doesn't help, and that's I remodded my game with almost 100 mods again. And that's not going to give me like the Bethesda experience, which we're going to be getting. But I'm going to show off here. You're okay if I show off, right?
I mean, I was okay when you accidentally took your character's clothes off.
Oh, because I have... Okay, let me tell you the problem here, all right? I just want to clarify this for everyone watching. I want to tell you my problem. I don't have any interest in nude mods. I have no interest in nude mods, but I do have interest in proper proportions of the body. I don't mean like wild, boobs out to yin yang. Like that looks goofy to me. Just proper proportions. It's all I ask. It's all I want. And so some of the best nude mods, by default, some of the best proportion mods are the nude mods. And so, of course, I install those. This is starting to sound like a really long excuse, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
I only use nude mods, but I don't support them.
It's like the people who subscribe to like the older Playboy. I just get it for the articles.
It's like I only give EA hundreds of dollars for their DLC. I don't support it.
All right, well, I'll just cut that short. Simply put, whether you believe it or not, I just want proper proportions. I don't want these like people running around looking like bricks. That's not normal. So to that end, I did this. Completely customized Curie with a synth tattoo that makes it look like she's a robot. Bunch of robot parts, a bunch of extra apparel. Looks a lot better than the base game, if I do say so myself. I think like this particular look took a combination of around 12 different mods. So
12 mods for that.
Yeah, so there's a synth mod that adds like the synth leg. Like you could see her right leg is robotic. But then there's a long black boot that covers up most of it. That's from another mod, the boot is. The bulb thing sticking out to make her really look robotic come from Far Harbor, but there's a mod that allows you to wear them. So that's another mod. The skin tone is another mod. There's a fix for female necks. That's another mod. Makeup is another mod. Eyes are another mod. Extra textures for the face is another mod. Extra hairstyles is another mod. Extra hair colors is another mod. And the goggles on the forehead are another mod.
Okay, I get most of that. But when you say a fix for the female neck, what kind of mod is that?
So, okay, so in Fallout 4, normally you wouldn't have a problem with the female neck. Like, that's such a random thing. And the way you reacted, it's indicative of that. So, the only time you run into a problem is when you want specialized textures. You'll notice the synth body texture, the black lines on the body, as they come up on her neck. You see how they come up like that? By default, the neck doesn't allow you to do that. It comes out really transformed when you try to apply like a mesh overlay on it. And so you have to download a fix so that modded overlays will align properly and all that good stuff.
So you installed a neck mod for a line.
Yeah, damn right. Now do it again in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Hidden Spike
Where's
Trap.
the eyebrow mod?
TH Brows. I actually had that. I had to disable it, though, because it hasn't been updated in a while, and it was causing bugs.
But Seinfeld already taught us that who cares about eyebrows?
I'll tell you who doesn't. Guile.
Well, no, you'd have to have them. Yeah.
Now I've got the Guile theme song stuck in my head. So Hidden Spike Trap says, Curie was literally adorable in the base game. Now she looks badass. That is not Curie, even if she looks awesome. It's Curie. It is 100% Curie. Look at her. In the first image, she is reading stuff, researching. She's learning. You see, that. Okay, maybe it's not Curie, but it's my Curie, and it's my Fallout. So that's okay. I'll live with the backlash on that.
Well, it's definitely yours, considering not everyone has nude mods.
Oh my god. Okay, just for your information, I did download another mod which apparently overwrites the nude model, so I don't have to worry about accidental slip ups on streams anymore. And it overwrites it with underwear. So then I could get like the proper proportions and not risk going into like X-rated content. I guess that wouldn't even really be X-rated. What is nudity these days? Isn't that just 18?
I guess it depends on what it is that you're showing, because a bare ass can apparently be in PG-13.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what the rules are anymore.
I have no idea. I actually had to spend a few hours just trying to find out if we were okay to upload that stream to YouTube or not.
Yeah, I saw you were getting some emails, conversations going on, trying to talk on the forums and see what they say. What did you end up doing anyway?
So, YouTube's policy on that kind of thing,
And this is in
wasn't
regards
very-
to, just so you're filled in, the viewers are filled in. This is in regards to the Fallout stream, where we had some slip ups with people not wearing armor. Put it that way. They had zero defense, if you want to think about it that way. And we were trying to get that on.
Wait. No, the skimpiest thing is the most armor. We already know this.
This is true, but in this
So-
case,
YouTube's policy on it was very difficult to understand, because apparently some nudity is allowed on YouTube, but only if you're popular enough to get away with it.
that's how I have always felt, right? Like if you take Cyberpunk for instance, that's going to cause so many issues because if you looked at the demo in the very beginning of the demo, you are carrying a lady that is completely stripped down, and I mean it's not like sexualized or anything. It's just that's the story they are telling, and contextually it makes sense. They were able to put that on YouTube, but think of the gamers, right? Like gamers are, I guarantee you, gamers are going to get some kind of strike for just having the gameplay.
They
there.
are. They are. Actually, I went on the YouTube help forums and specifically asked if I marked it mature, if it'd be okay. And nobody was able to answer me. They eventually had to say, well, Bethesda themselves is against you posting any videos with nude mods in it. So I ended up not being able to upload it just because of that technicality. But based on YouTube rules, who knows if I could have or not.
Yeah, YouTube basically sits in a shade of gray, and the rules are completely based on a popularity contest. Like,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
end of story. And even if you're popular, if you go too far against what they like, whether right or wrong, you can say goodbye.
And I know this is the case because I saw a video just the other day with 7 million views that was all the sex scenes from the God of War games.
Right.
And you can see everything, and it's on YouTube.
Yep.
And it has not been taken down.
I guarantee you, if you upload that, it'll be taken down within 10 minutes.
Definitely. Our channel would be gone.
Yep. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into our conversation for today. And we're going to start off with the Pete Hines interview. Metro.co.uk has got a copy of it posted up. And I figure I'd just go through the interview if you're down for it. And we can talk about what our thoughts are as it relates to the industry. Because like I said, this does have some fallout, but it's really more of a meta interview about the industry.
Okay.
And this, again, the interviewer is Game Central. So Game Central starts off, I'm not trying to butter you up, although I guess I am in a way. I appreciate the way you make yourself available for interviews like this. You seem to do it all the time with various people, and it's very unusual for an exec at a big publisher. Yeah, I guess it is a little unusual. Usually it's like a smaller PR team that handles everything, but Pete Hines puts himself at the forefront of everything, and I believe he's vice president of PR.
It's always good to have one of the top guys come out and tell you the way things are going, because you feel like you can trust them a lot more than just some random grunt from a lowly team.
And that's kind of what Pete Hines gets at too. Is
Mhm.
because of his position being so high up, he can get out there and people respect that. I think that's true.
Right.
Like I respect
Yeah.
what Pete Hines says before I respect like anything that comes out of EA's PR department.
Yes. Yes. Not just because it's EA, but that definitely helps.
But what else also helps is going in with the right lens. Like if you're expecting someone to really tear down a product into its pros and cons and very distinct listings of pros and cons, you're probably not going to get that from Pete Hines. It is his job to do public relations. There's going to be a
Right.
positive spin to everything because that's what he's paid to do, is to keep
Mhm.
the public happy and doing this about their products. But for getting new information, Pete Hines has been phenomenal. Like he's been and Todd Howard too. Like after the initial trailer for 76, they have both been everywhere. I'm surprised they even still have working voice boxes at this point.
Well, I think they kind of have to push this because of how vastly different it is from their other games. They have to know that, this is a new type of game, but the people that we already had on board will still enjoy it.
I've got an analogy. I want you to imagine a medieval battlefield, like with two big hills before anyone joins the battle. On one side, you've got Todd Howard and Pete Hines walking out with a little shield to announce a game.
Mhm.
And they think everything's going well. And what they don't see is the army coming over the other side of the hill with nuclear missile launchers, pitchforks, fire, brimstone, and like millions of people coming over the hill to talk about this is the worst idea for a Fallout ever. And so if you imagine that in your mind, like this huge, endless army approaching from over the hill, and Pete Hines and Todd Howard sitting there with these little shields, like it makes sense for them to work so hard at these interviews because it's almost like they're like, oh crap. And they had to run back and get as much details as they could and start signing up for all these interviews, bring the bigger shields to defend against what the pushback is.
Well, I kind of feel like their king at the time, which is really the investors, was just sitting there shouting, faster, cheaper, faster, cheaper.
Probably. Is that like the whip?
No, that's like his scepter, faster. It's a king. He doesn't have a whip.
Or could it just be either, right? Like this is, choose your own adventure. I see
I
it as a
mean,
whip. Maybe you see it as a scepter.
I guess, but I don't know. It just screams to me the thing that I've said so many times. Let's see how little effort we can put into something for the most return. And I kind of don't have a positive perception of this game, but I will say they are doing a great job promoting it.
Yeah, I will. I will go out on a limb and admit
Mm-hmm.
their public presence has been exactly what you would hope for it to
Yes.
be. So they ask if he's happy with E3, and he said that he was very happy with it. Strong message. I liked what they had to talk about, both near and longer term stuff. If you'll remember, they talked about in the short term, Fallout 76, and then a little bit further down the way, you've got Skyrim, then Skyrim Mobile, which I didn't care about Skyrim Mobile at all.
No, but that's, another copy or two for Ray.
Right. I guess so. He's got like 20 copies of Skyrim at this
He
point.
really does.
And then, of course, Starfield. They did their little splash image for Starfield. No details, just a splash image to give you the tone of the game.
Yep.
All right, so Game Central asks, how important is it now for you to have an impressive E3? Every publisher has quiet years where they don't necessarily have much to show. So do you try and finesse the schedule so there's always something to talk about at that time of year? So I guess they're really asking, like, do you participate in fluff content just to remind people you exist? Like,
Right.
so he said, go ahead.
I was going to say that can have negative repercussions on you. I think that's why a few times Nintendo kind of skipped E3 and had their own event around the time of E3 because they didn't have anything big to announce.
A lot of that comes down to managing expectations too. And that's a full-time job. You can't just
It is.
do it willy-nilly. Like, if you're not going to show something at E3 or you know you're not going to, you need to make sure people know. And usually what that means is making smaller announcements before E3 starts, just saying, hey, here's stuff we're working on. It's going to be a while off before we announce it, right? So just setting that expectation.
It may not always be what people want to hear, but it's better than doing nothing.
Now, he goes on to talk about how he's working closely with their devs so they understand and are a part of the process of, well, when are we going to be talking about what? Now, I want to make a comment here as I guess at this point, more of an enthusiast developer than anything. That is huge. Usually, there's a breakdown between PR and devs, or worse, like you see in some of these companies, EA, is the PR and the investors basically define the platform, and then the developers are just like sent around like monkeys to work on computers.
Definitely. Yeah.
And they don't really have a say. So the fact that Bethesda talks and works with their developers in regard to public relations is huge to me.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. One of the most interesting things at E3 was that you did talk about Starfield and the new Elder Scrolls, even though they're years away, which is interesting because you started the whole fad of announcing games only 6 months or so before they came out. And if you'll remember when Fallout 4 was initially announced, there was, even if you weren't following it, you couldn't avoid it because they literally was like, okay, guys, so we're working on a game called Fallout 4. You can download Fallout Shelter now, and Fallout 4 is coming out like within your next few paychecks. You know what I mean? Like, holy crap.
I mean, that was completely genius thing to do because you're not going to get the game now, but here's something else Fallout related to tie you over, and people are going to buy it.
But even still, the announcement like that the game was coming out, the first we heard anything official about it, and the game was going to be out almost like what felt like the next week. I mean, granted, it was a couple months away at that point, but it felt like the next week. Hidden Spike Trap remembers, says just a ton of holy shit, rah, 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 and screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere. That was big then.
Yeah. And so they kind of set the bar for that. And I like that they're asking this question because with things like Starfield and Elder Scrolls, it's almost like they've completely flipped that because now we've got a long-term announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And so Pete Hines says, well, in this particular case, we felt like, number one, we had been getting asked about Starfield for years because we had filed the trademark and everybody was sniffing around and asking, well, what is that? And you and me know this very well because we've been gamers for long enough. If you file a trademark and you don't say something, don't worry, the internet will speak for you.
Oh, yeah. I see it all the time. People will find out every little detail if you leave that information out there. Any websites you trademark, any names you trademark, they'll find out. They will.
Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, Todd Howard said, we confirmed, yes, we're going to make Elder Scrolls, but we have 2 other major titles, and they're going to work on those first. And we felt that with Fallout 76, that it was important to have the context of, well, here's what else they're working on. So we could say, look, the next thing they're doing is Starfield. It's a single-player role-playing game. We didn't want folks assuming, well, they're making a game like this with 76, so the future of Bethesda is basically going to be 76. We wanted to be able to show a roadmap and to say, no, the next thing is going to be single player and it's going to be a new IP. Now, for me, I think 2 things. I think that it is incredibly smart for them to do it. It's to me, that's more of like a defensive announcement because, you know, everyone, including me, saw Fallout 76, saw the trend in Fallout games, And there's this huge worry that, okay, our single player RPG is actually dead now, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it's a.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was
ahead.
going to say it's just good to go ahead and nip that problem in the bud because, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it's better to prevent an issue than it is to play defense after it's already an issue.
Yeah, and that's one place I really gotta like applaud both Todd Howard and Pete Hines is they put this information out. They saw everyone was asking questions and worried, and so they jumped right on stage, even if they didn't have the best information or complete information, and there was a lot of we can't talk about this yet. They still got out on stage just to try to quiet people and say, look, we're still going to be doing single player games, guys. And I mean, obviously I don't know how much 76 is going to impact their future games, but regardless of the actual outcome, just for optics, that is huge that they did that and so important.
It shows that they're really in touch with their fans' concerns.
Then they ask, as a layman, that always seems like the right approach to me. I think the problem is not announcing something a long time before it comes out. The problem is doing a new wave of previews every 6 months for 2 or 3 years until you're sick of hearing about it. Sometimes I've even got confused as to whether a game is out yet or not. I played it so much beforehand. I have one perfect example for this. You remember Star Citizen?
I do vaguely.
So I jumped in on Star Citizen really early. My money's still tied up. So, you know, when I'm 99 years old and they finally release the game, I'll be able to play it before I die because I bought the game. But they are right because I was really hyped about Star Citizen. Super energetic. But as time goes on, I just don't really care anymore. Like, whenever it comes out, I'll give it a shot, but all the hype and energy is kind of gone for me.
Another Duke Nukem Forever.
Another Duke Nukem Forever.
I mean, that is exactly what happened to that. By the time we finally got it, everyone's like, eh.
Well, the worst part about Duke Nukem Forever is it took so long because they had so much internal problem. And then when it finally came out, it was basically a game on rails, right? Like you would expect with that long of a development for the game to have been developed for that long, but that's not actually the case. Like
No.
the delays were all because of problems they had internally, not because they were pumping new awesome stuff into the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not that it would have ever lived up to the hype that it had anyway, but yeah, that's just really unfortunate that people waited so long for that. So I understand.
So they continue on, or even more common, I get the final review version and I've got to play it for 3 hours just to get to the bit I haven't seen yet. Pete Hines says, yeah, exactly. It's funny. We talked about that internally as well, but yes, you're correct. We didn't do it from the standpoint of, okay, and now we're actively going to be talking about and promoting Starfield. Much in the same way, to use an example from a little bit outside our industry, like what Marvel does in terms of saying, look, I know I said Marvel and that's a trigger word. Look,
Yeah.
here's the films that we have and sort of the cadence of things coming up. And it's not necessarily, and here's exactly what that movie's going to be about or who's starring in it. I do want to make a comment here. Like, one thing Marvel did really well, I don't know if they still do it because I don't really care about Marvel anymore, but do you remember the earlier Marvel movies at the end, like after credits, they would always give like that teaser so that you would understand the context of the next thing they were working on?
Yeah, I do remember some of them doing
Like
that. They
in-
did stop that, but
They did stop that? Man, that was so smart, though.
as far as I know, because I remember a few of the movies that I saw, they just kind of had like a funny little after scene. Like if people remember the Avengers ones, like they still tell you, you know, more's on the way, but they want to do like a little jokey type thing, which I don't have a problem with because we know we're getting a sequel. So I'm okay with that.
But I really enjoyed it. Like, I can't remember which movie it was, but I do remember after the credits for one of them, like the team discovered Thor's hammer somewhere.
Oh yeah, I
And
do
that
remember that.
and that was so smart because it instantly made you think, man, they're going to be working on Thor. And they didn't have to do any extra advertising. They just jumbled it into the end of the movie. And everyone stays past the credits that care about the whole aura surrounding the movie.
Yes. I mean, just to clarify, I have not seen the Infinity War movie, so I don't know that they stopped doing that completely, but they did have some movies where they didn't do that for.
Gotcha. But you have a sense as a fan, okay, I understand where the next Avenger falls, and there's going to be a Captain America, even if I didn't know what the setting or what the names of those things are. We wanted to do something similar to say, I'm not telling you what the game is, and I'm not going to have information to share for quite a while, but you know the next thing. Yes, it's Starfield. It's a new IP. It's being made by this studio. It's a single player RPG, and it'll be a while before it's ready. So going on, so you touched there on single player games, which obviously Bethesda is very closely associated with. And it increasingly feels like it's only you, Sony, and Nintendo that still make big budget ones on a consistent basis. If it wasn't for you three, it'd be indie games and then just scraps from the table. And that's so true. Everything has gone like hyper multiplayer these days.
I mean, I still think in the RPG genre you can find a lot of single player stuff, but a lot of
But mostly indie
stuff,
and RPG, right? And the ones that
not
aren't
necessarily.
okay, but are the like mainstream RPGs really like the fundamental RPG experience, or have they been super homogenized and streamlined for today's audiences?
Most of them. There are still a few. One of my favorite series, and Largo's been playing Dragon Quest. That has not been.
Okay. So you would
But
suggest I check out Dragon Quest if I wanted a good
if
RPG.
if you like traditional RPGs, that is the perfect series for you. Everything about it screams traditional.
And Hidden Spy Trap in chat says, I'd be so sad if single player games died. I love single player the best, honestly. And I agree with that now. When I was younger, maybe not so much because I was excited about being able to meet people online. It was a whole new experience. Like, I was born before the internet hit mainstream, before the internet of gaming really took off. And
Yeah.
and I still remember booting up Phantasy Star Online. It was the first online game I played, and I was legitimately mesmerized. I was like, you mean these are actual players? These are actual people in my game. That is the coolest thing in the world. We could do anything in this world we live. We could cure cancer. We've got online game. You could see other people in the game you're playing, even though they're across the country. This is so cool. But as I've gotten older, when I log into an online game, the first thought, and I hate it, but the first thought that comes to my mind was, all right, let's see what kind of assholes are on today. Like, all the magic of it is gone for me.
I understand that. I still need kind of like a healthy mix, but there's definitely been a very big push towards multiplayer. You do have RPGs going to multiplayer, which Dragon Quest had 10, which was online. You have platformers that are multiplayer, shooters that are multiplayer. It is pretty hard to find big budget single player games, so I can agree with him.
And if you look at investors and money, right? Especially in this world of games as a service now, single player games, they have to answer some really tough questions if they want to bring in the same money that a multiplayer game with less development would bring in. You know what I mean? Like these broad appeal, mainstream, streamlined games that don't really appease to either fringe audience on either side of it, they are cash cows. They bring in a massive amount of money. And so to do a single player game, you've got to pull people from that. You got to say, look, I know you're really enjoying that. We've got a single player experience. Please come check it out. And I can't help but imagine that there is a financial struggle there. Like talking to investors, if they sit there, because they're the guys with the money, right? Like, and
Right.
if you say, I want to make another single player game, you got to think, you got like Mr. Wonderful sitting in the back saying, well, what if we just did a multiplayer game and we all became rich instead? You know what I mean? Like that temptation's got to be there.
I'm sure it is, though. I think that's really the difference between businesses that are a business only for money and businesses that are a business to make people happy. Obviously, you do have the mix of both. I think Nintendo is like a perfect mix of both.
Yeah, I think Bethesda is also a good mix of both at this point.
Yeah, you see Nintendo's going into the mobile market because it makes money. It does. But at the same time, they're also making those big budget Mario games, Zelda games, things like that that are not really multiplayer things. Now, granted, they do have the handheld Zeldas, which some of them have not been great. Some of them were okay, but they were going multiplayer. But then you also have Metroid Prime 4, which, like, not to really be a downer here, but if you go back and you look at Metroid sales records, even if you love the series, and that's perfectly fine, it's not a huge money maker, but yet it's still one of their most predominant, you can do this solo kind of series.
Now, Kaylani, welcome to the stream, Kaylani. Kaylani says, but money is everything. and I think there is a war that goes on internally in companies, even indies that blow up overnight, like even something like Riot Games that started really small. Once money starts getting involved, I mean, you know how that goes if you've ever like worked with really close friends. Like if money starts getting involved, there becomes an actual struggle to balance off, like, how much of what I want to do am I going to do at the cost of not making money? And that's a real struggle for every business, not just in gaming, but every business that wants to stand on any kind of fundamental fence, like Google's old "don't be evil," right? Like, well, okay, if you don't want to be evil, that means you're not going to be selling private data and you're not going to be accessing this and all this, and that's free money. And you'll notice they took away the "don't be evil" years ago. So, like, you have to sacrifice one or the other. Either you stand for principles and make less money, or you stand for money and you hold to less principles.
Yeah, it's all about how far can your drive and passion take you before you step over that fence of now it's about the dollar.
Yeah. And now in this response, Pete Hines just goes on to talk about more of this, the honey dripping from the mouth, like, look, we're still making single player games. Very important, Very important message, but we all expected it. I think any smart studio would have come out and said, hold on, we're still going to make single player games. Mm-hmm. All right. So Game Central asks, I've noticed the tone of this discussion has changed recently in the industry at large after God of War was so successful. But 6 months before that, a lot of publishers, not you, were talking as if it was the death of single player. And you'll remember Bethesda had the whole Save Player One campaign.
Yes, they did.
As if they were no longer economically viable with the big budget. This is what we were just talking about. That's demonstrably not true, so how do you think they came to that conclusion originally? I don't know that it's demonstrably not true. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think by and large single-player games are less effective. You have to have something really special to offer, though. I think the status quo right now for AAA games does not lend itself to deep storytelling. I'll put it that way. I think that there's not the right people to release really good single player games by and large, so they're few and farther between.
I kind of have to go back to what I said before. Multiplayer is basically just an easier way to make money without as much effort. Not that all multiplayer games are that way. Obviously, there are plenty that have a lot of effort put into them, but they are the easier thing to make a buck off of.
Yeah. So Pete Hines responds, in fairness, I wouldn't know. Truthfully, I don't know. I don't work there. That's basic CYA. You don't want to end up, especially being PR, you don't want to like throw another company under the bus because then that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the challenge that any game developer and publisher has in some way hasn't changed since I started in 99, which is you have to prove a value proposition to your customer. They have to be convinced that what you're offering is a value to them. That's what we were just talking about. And that comes from the form of cha-ching. If you're asking them to buy your game, but it's free-to-play thing, you still have a value proposition, which is this is worth your time to play and try. Whether it's taking time away from other games you're playing or taking time away from other activities, they have to be convinced that you're providing good value. Pete Hines sounds like a really good businessman to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with him. And that whole taking time away from other games is a big thing. Because the more there is, the more competition.
And he's going on to further clarify what I was getting at. In some cases with single player, that can sometimes be difficult to prove. And he goes on like a hypothetical thing that you'd have to tell a player. You should stop playing Fortnite, stop playing Overwatch, or Doom, or Skyrim, or whatever you're playing to come play this other thing. That is a really big ask. You've got to have so much value to pull people away from these games, especially now, because everyone's streaming these things. Are you going to tell someone, all right, look, I know you stream like 4 times a week. I know you're playing Fortnite constantly for your streamers, but you mind just playing our single-player game? Like, you've really got to pull them off and really impress them. That is a hard ask.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could tell someone to stop playing Fortnite, but when they tell me how much money they're doing by making it, I couldn't do it anymore.
So that's principles versus money again.
It kind of is. Like, I wouldn't want to stream Fortnite 7 days a week, but I can see why people would do that.
Now, he says they think they have good answers to that kind of stuff. And I mean, I can't argue with them. Bethesda's done really well with their single-player games, extraordinarily well. And they're going to continue that approach in how they answer the question. All right, one thing does worry me, and this does seem to be a particular problem with your games, is release dates. Now, I can actually condense a lot of this. Basically, the Game Central is talking about how they're releasing all these games in the fall, right?
Okay.
And as you know, fall games typically don't do as well. It's kind of like movies released over the summer versus the winter. You know what I mean? Like, there is a clear trend. And Pete Hines just basically says, in so many words, if your game is good enough, people are going to be looking for the game, not the release date time window.
Yeah. And I mean, the 3 areas I usually see are either summer, when kids are out of school, winter for Christmas, or picking a time period where your game's not going to be releasing against other blockbuster games. So releasing it specifically in the fall when there is a lot of other big things, it's kind of gutsy. But it's Fallout. It can really fight with the best of them.
You can release Fallout any day of the year, and it's not going to hit the sales numbers. If it's going to do poorly, it's going to do poorly based on its own merit, not the time window. That's the way I see it. But only because it's big enough. Like, I feel like there's a threshold, right? Like, if you have a game no one really knows about and it's from an unknown publisher, I think time release windows are a lot more important.
Yes, they are. You have to have skin in the game first.
Game Central goes on and on, basically trying to push him on this. I just scrolled past a lot, but it's really more of the same. A lot of these questions are just really trying to push Pete Hines to give a different answer. But Pete Hines, in traditional PR fashion, doesn't back down, and he just reiterates. So there's no reason to go over that part of it. All right. Let's see. Still talking about that. All right, here we go. When you see Fallout 76 amongst all these triple, quadruple A titles, 1 week after the next, almost all the way up to March, is that a sensible way for the industry to go about things? Sure, come on, that's been happening for years and years and years and years. Yes, and it's always seemed crazy, especially as it's always the same kind of game that suffers. The more experimental, less high-profile ones. But again, he's just reiterating, and it goes back to what I was saying. Like, Fallout is not a low-profile game.
No.
even if Bethesda releases a new IP, it inherently, because it has the Bethesda tag, cannot be labeled a low profile game. Even Fallout Shelter could not be labeled low profile because it was Bethesda.
No, and your brand, once it builds up that loyalty, people will always be checking out what new you're doing.
All right, so this is where it gets interesting. If you remember the whole loot box drama,
Yeah.
so they're saying like loot box problems have been everywhere. Bethesda's avoided it, and they're completely blameless. And so Pete Hines talks to that. Well, we really try. We're pretty aware of where the line is and try and sit on the right side of that line. So I'll give you an example. It's not like microtransactions haven't been a four-letter word in this industry among certain folk for a while. We have microtransactions in 76, but they're only cosmetic, which I have my problems with that phrase. Like if you design your game so that everything looks like crap unless you pay money, it's still an impact on immersion.
I agree.
Anything we're selling for real money, you can also buy with in-game currency that you get as a reward while you play. Now that I'm very happy to hear because it means you don't have to spend money.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been involved with a few other games where that was the case. You earn in-game currency for doing stuff. You can get anything that you could have gotten with money, but it depends on how much of an entire time investment is going to be required.
Yeah, like there are some things in, for instance, in Warframe is the last big game I did that had a lot of this stuff, even cosmetic stuff, and they run on an in-game currency called platinum, and you can earn platinum by farming cards and selling cards to other players for platinum. That's how you can get it, and so without having to spend money, you can get a lot of stuff. But if you spend money,
Right.
you can get that stuff a lot faster, so much faster if you just drop $5-10, right? So I think it's a balancing act. Like how much time are you going to ask from the player, and how much time is the average player going to be okay with?
Time is money.
And Dragon Mom, welcome to the stream. Dragon Mom played a lot of Warframe. Do you still play it? I think you still play some Warframe from time to time when they release new content. A lot. So you already know all about the cosmetics there.
Yes, she did actually stream that. Was about 4 weeks ago.
So Pete Hines says, a part of the main reason we're doing it is because we want to provide all of the post-launch content that we do. Here's the keywords, for free. So traditional Bethesda games, you would buy the base game and then you would buy a developed expansion pack whenever they came out.
Yeah.
They're planning on supporting this game with free content updates using the cosmetic microtransactions to power that.
I mean, I don't like it, but it's a proven method. It does work.
It does work, but I do wonder where the sacrifices are going to come from, because there's always a sacrifice, and I don't know at what point I can handle the sacrifice or not. Like we were talking game length time, like if I have to spend a month grinding for like one power armor paint, that would be ridiculous to me.
Yeah, especially if you can go buy it for a few dollars.
And the other trick is it's really hard to say one way or the other and really have an opinion, because every gamer has a different feeling on what amount of time is appropriate. Like, especially in the age gap. You look at Fallout, you get people that are really young playing it and people that are really old playing it. There are people twice my age that play Fallout games. And older people that have full-time jobs are going to lean more towards, I want to earn this stuff in less time, whereas people that are able to play games for 16 hours a day, like I did when I was a kid, it's like it takes no time at all to earn stuff in real world time because they're always on the game. What else are they going to do?
It also depends on if you're having fun trying to achieve your goal, because I know some games will lock the currency earning behind specific modes of play. Like, going back to Street Fighter did it. Let's just say what if you could only earn currency in online ranked? Like, what if you don't want to play online ranked?
Yeah.
Well, you're forced to buy what you want, or you're forced to spend time doing something you don't want to do to earn the currency. Whereas things like League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, if you enjoy playing the game, you're earning the currency as you're playing the game. So it's all up to, are you having fun achieving your goal?
Yeah. All right, and Pete Hines says the way in which we put out content for those games was different. Like back then, we did much larger expansions that took longer and were further apart. That's kind of going over what we were talking about, expansions versus games as a service, constant updates. But ever since then, we have done those games where we're trying, to go back to my earlier point, provide a value proposition and say, look, this is a game that you can spend hundreds or thousands of hours in, and we're giving the community the tools to create that content on an ongoing basis as much as they want. Like, do whatever the hell you want. That's kind of like, I feel like this should be on all Bethesda game boxes. Like, under the title, put, like, do whatever the hell you want. Maybe even add a man at the end of it. Like, do whatever the hell you want, man. Like, it's true. It's true. Bethesda games are literally choose your own adventure when it comes to, like, modding, for instance.
Yeah, I hate to be Mr. Negativity, but that's one reason I don't play them. I don't like choose your own adventure, but that does describe them very well.
They're talking about Rage 2 doesn't necessarily have any at the moment. No loot crates for sure. They're not sure if microtransactions are going to get in or not. Evil Mumu-chan, welcome to the stream. GG, grinding isn't so bad. I grinded a 0.01% drop for 5 years on a 1 hour spawn enemy. That's great. That's fantastic.
I did that kind of stuff in WoW. I know how you feel.
Yep, I did that kind of stuff in WoW as well. I don't mind the grind. And that's one space where I'll say I'm glad 76 is just going to do it for the cosmetics, if they're going to do it for anything. Because I don't want to run into a situation where it's like, oh, because I have a job, I don't get to have the most powerful rocket launcher and I get grieved in the game. You know what I mean? Like, there's easy ways of falling into traps with that.
Yeah, make sure that it's not pay to win, for one, and make sure it's not going to give this huge advantage to people that sit there and spend 80 hours a week on the game when you can only spend 5 to 10.
Yeah, exactly. And they do say if there are any microtransactions added to Rage 2, it would probably just be cosmetic. So not having loot boxes sounds like company policy. Let's be real. Like, right now, if you're listening and you're making a game, right now, you could sell so many copies of your game like hotcakes. Even if it's a bad game, all you have to do is put on the box. I'm all about box art today, I guess. Just put on the box, no loot boxes inside. And people will buy it just out of principle.
My gosh, I can tell you firsthand, loot boxes are extremely addicting, but yet I hate them. I really do.
Well, I mean, how many gamblers will tell you that they love pulling the lever, but they hate losing money, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are some people out there that just play slots for the fun of it, and I've always kind of scratched my head as like, how is that fun? But yeah, I'm not going to sit there and spend an hour at slots if I'm never going to win.
Oh my God, Dragon Mom. So 2 things, Dragon Mom in chat, talking to you. Number 1, your username is so light that on my chat window, I can't even read it. I just know it's you by the way you talk. Second, it says, reminding me, you can't be grieved. You have to shoot back, Kappa. Oh my God, the slap mechanic. Don't make me angry. I don't want to be angry today.
I hate the slap mechanic.
I don't want to be angry today. I'm going to move on.
I hate the slap mechanic.
Let's see, where were we? We were just talking about loot boxes. Right. So,
oh, yeah.
Well, it's game by game and what makes sense. But yeah, we try and make sure on a whole we don't want to do anything like we've seen other folk do where it becomes a major negative. Typical PR response. But I will say Bethesda's done a much better job probably after the whole mod drama they had with the Creation Club initially. They've done a much better job of really injecting themselves into the player base to see what the players are saying.
Yeah, that's definitely a good job. You have to keep in touch with your fan base. Otherwise, you're just throwing a dart at a board and hoping something hits.
I have Twitch Dark, you people in chat. I just don't have it enabled for some reason.
Busted.
Yeah, I told on myself. All right, well, that's great to hear. I assume Fallout 76 is the most games as a service-y of the two. This gets interesting. So how long do you envisage that lasting? And Pete Hines, this is what you're going to see all over the internet, the main quote, forever. He's asked how long do you expect to be supporting 76? And Pete Hines says forever. And he says, I'm not being ironic, like forever, because other people have said, is your timeline 2 years or 5 years? And I said, well, they're still playing Morrowind, and you go online and look at how many people are playing Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Those games have been out for 4 and 7 years, and there are literally hundreds of thousands of people playing those games every single day, every single month. So Fallout 76, our timeline is in perpetuity. Now, what that content is going to be and what that's going to look like, I'm not sure. Part of our thing is we need to get people in the game and see how they respond. We've even taken this approach for past DLC. I don't know if you remember Fallout 3, the big consumer reaction. Okay, so he's talking about Fallout 3. The initial ending to Fallout 3, there was an ending scene, the credits, the game was over, you're done. And that was always kind of like the status quo, not just from other Fallout games, but from every game in the world. You beat the final boss, good job, story's over, game over, back to the menu. And people had so much fun just going through the wasteland that players kind of group up against Bethesda and said, guys, we want to keep playing after the end scene. We want to, because, you get so attached to your character, how you've customized it. We want to keep playing. We want to keep playing after the end. We don't want an end. We don't want to see a game over screen after we beat the game. We want to be thrown back into the world. And they use that feedback. And in one of their last expansions for Fallout 3, they added forever mode, basically. It wasn't called forever mode, but you beat the game and you're thrown back in the world and you can keep playing, keep leveling up, and do any side quests you might have missed. Hidden Spike Trap says, while it's a different game, Harvest Moon actually had something like that. Early game, it ends, and after that, they let you continue even after the main goal was completed, and now that's a staple in those sorts of games. I think it makes sense. If you have a game where you are engineered mentally in a way to start caring about your character, having a way from preventing your character from being ripped from you after all this time you've invested in them, it makes sense. Like, to me, a never-ending game mode was kind of like an organic evolution of any genre where you care about your characters.
Yeah, of course, I never wanted that kind of thing in fighting games. It's like, I'm on round 107, and no matter what point you lose, you're going to feel like I could have gone so much further.
This is true, but that's how versus in fighting games worked back in the day. Like, you keep winning, and then someone beats you at the arcade, and you're like, oh, crap. And the line's like 30 people long because you're several years ago where arcades still existed and were popular, and you say, okay, I'm going to put a quarter up, and I'm going to stand in line, and I'm going to wait.
You're gonna do it.
And then you're secretly, like, crossing your fingers. Please don't lose to anyone else in this line, because I want to kick your ass.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you had to get him back. I used to do that kind of thing in online mode for Marvel 2. If I would ever lose to anyone, like, I would sit there and wait through 4 matches just to get my shot at them again. I know all about that. I do kind of have to question, though, based on him saying this will last forever. Well, he expects it to last forever. Now, I don't necessarily expect Bethesda themselves to host servers forever. Because there's always that chance that this game doesn't do well.
Well, there's a lot of. I think they're in a tough spot because to me, as a long-term Fallout and shorter-term Bethesda fan, I see so many different pieces of this puzzle that they're trying to put together, and how they're going to balance them all, I feel like is going to be nothing short of a miracle. I mean, on one hand, you want a game that lasts forever. And to that, you are using previous DLC as your example. But here's where I see the problem. The reason Bethesda games last forever has nothing to do with content Bethesda puts out. It has everything to do with modding.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about it this way. I recently picked up Fallout 4 again, and I've been having a lot of fun. Would I have done that if mods did not exist? No.
There's a less chance of it.
There's I'll tell you right now, there'd be a 0% chance, because once you play the game, you beat the game, you know the side quests, you could recite all the lines by heart. And of course, Fallout 4's own options, which are very little choice.
Yeah.
Like all of 4 of the dialogue lead to the same outcome. So when you think about that, it's not necessarily that great you created DLC that let people keep playing. It was more the mod support. And I think at some level they knew this. That's why they did the Creation Club. But that's another component. They're trying to do the Creation Club to add mods to their business model to help support the games going forward. And I think that is smart, right? Like, there is some intelligence to that. But look at the problems that causes. I could go on to Creation Club right now and download a Skyrim power armor for Fallout 4 and pay money for it. Or,
well, yeah.
Or I could go to Nexus Mod Manager, get 10 other power armors, including one that looks like it's from Skyrim, pay no money, and get more features because there's less red tape. So they've created the Creation Club as a business decision, but there's no way it can compete with what's available for free. You know what I mean? So at that point, the long-term support of the game, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, because you got modding, you got the cosmetics going on, you've got the multiplayer, but no NPCs in it. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess the cosmetic side of it could support the business model going forward. It works for Path of Exile, because they're all like cosmetics. That's how Path of Exile succeeds.
No, because Path of Exile actually still puts out new content that's not just cosmetic.
Right, but my point is the cosmetics are what allow them to do it, because it's their only way to get money. So, I mean, I guess I could see that as working. And then if that works, right, like as time goes on, they haven't really given us any details on private servers and modding. They don't want to have the discussion right now because they're not ready for it yet. But let's say eventually they release private servers with mods. You can now mod your game. I guarantee you most people, after about 8 months of letting the modding community settle, because it takes a little bit less than a year for a modding community to really start to settle and dig in deep. I think at that point you run the risk, right? Like, if they release modding and private servers, are people going to be buying cosmetics and playing the official servers anymore? They're good. That's going to be a huge cut in money.
I wouldn't.
So releasing the private servers with mod support, which is what I would want, is in direct conflict with the goal of infinite duration of this game. So you see, it's a lot of stuff you have to reconcile with these systems in play, and I'm not sure how they're going to do it.
Well, see, that's kind of how I figured. I don't expect Bethesda to host servers themselves forever, because I don't think just cosmetic stuff is going to drive people to keep playing. They're going to need new content, and you can actually get that from fan-made mods. But if the company themselves isn't going to be doing it, then this is not going to last forever. It's not.
Well, I mean, they are going to be releasing new content, and they're using. This is one place that I think that they're actually playing it smart. And when I can frame Fallout 76 in this way, maybe I could even convince you that maybe neither of us are really drawn to the game, but there's something about it that does make sense. Okay, you ready?
All right.
I'm gonna try my best. I know you're a hard shell to crack on this. Fallout 76 to me. Okay, let me backtrack. Let's start. You're a hard nut to crack, all right?
Yeah.
All right. So, as you know, the community around Bethesda Games is incredibly torn when it comes to Fallout 4.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that really, really, really like the gunplay. They're the people who really want that first-person perspective and all of that. And then there's people on the other end of the spectrum that really, 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 really like that RPG element.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in Bethesda games is every time they release a new one, there's a trend, either one way or the other. And in this case, it happens to be more towards gunplay with Fallout 4 and less towards RPG. And what did you get as a result? You got people who liked it and didn't say anything, but then you got a lot of public backlash. Anyone who knows about Fallout 4, whether you play it or not, you know there was a lot of complaints where the game could have been, quote unquote, better. Fallout 76 existing, while knowing they're going to be working on Fallout 5, is perfect. And here's why. To me, Fallout 76 is going to be kind of like that redheaded stepchild, but a lab where they can test features to see if people like it before they put it in their other games. In a way that puts Fallout 76 a step down from a mainline game because it's more of an experimental thing. But imagine how much extra insight they get from this before releasing something like Fallout 5. Assuming they make the right calls, right? Like, it's not all multiplayer, all that good stuff.
I mean, it sounds like to me you're trying to call this a test server where people can check balance changes before they go through to live.
Well, not necessarily balance changes, but even content, right? Like the selfie camera that we know that's going to be in 76. If it gets a big enough reception, they could add it to their other games. They're like, people really like this, we'll add it to the other games. If people really complain and really, really, really want more story, it's entirely possible they can add it. And I'll use Fallout 4 as the perfect example. Fallout 4 had major problems with choice and story. All right?
Yeah.
That was a complaint for a while. Their DLC seemed to be mostly focused around adding little piddly stuff here and there. Most of it were for people who wanted to play Minecraft and Fallout, which is fine. I enjoyed some of it too. And people were really pissed off there was no story. So what did they do with that feedback? They created Far Harbor. Far Harbor has a ton of choice, a ton of morality in it. Far Harbor in itself feels like if the entire Fallout 4 was made in that image, I would have played it a lot longer than I did. Far Harbor exists because people were asking for RPG elements.
So let me get this straight.
All right.
People were complaining about the lack of story in Fallout 4, so what they do is make 76 with no story again.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent, but I have to believe that if there is enough pushback, they'll add more story components to it. You don't think so?
It's not that I don't think they'll do it, it's that I've seen enough to know not to expect it.
Now, I will say their execution isn't always spot on because, you know, they released the Nuka World DLC, and don't get me wrong, I love Nuka World, but that was also at the behest of complaints. Because even after Far Harbor, everyone was like, okay, we've got good story now. Granted, it's only a chunk, it's a DLC, but it's a pretty big DLC. I'm happy with it, happy with the money, but we still have a problem. In older Fallout games, you could be the bad guy. You don't really get that choice here. Even if you try to be the bad guy, the game pushes you and forces you to be the good guy no matter what. Even if you join the Institute, which is like the quote-unquote evil faction in the game, there are ways that you can logically justify it as being the only good decision. So you cannot be a bad guy. So they released Nuka World, where you could be a raider, and the execution wasn't quite there, because it's like, if you choose not to be a bad guy in that expansion, the entire expansion lasts about 10 minutes total. Like, you just go in and kill everyone. That's it. There is no optional quests if you decide to be the good guy. You have to be the bad guy to get the content at all. And so the execution was off, but it did come on the heels of player feedback. So maybe they weren't the best at doing it, but it shows they listened. And so for me, Fallout 76 could, if they allow it, it could be that little test tube where they put stuff in and shake it around and see how people react in a game with free content updates. So it's better to justify adding changes to it over the long term. And then if something works out, they could say, okay, this is really good. We've come across a great solution here in this test vial of Fallout 76. Let's put it in our main games. Or, oh, crap, this thing just blew up. I no longer have my hand. That's not going to touch the main games. And so I feel like, in a way, for future games, it could help prevent things like Nuka World being so one-sided, or Far Harbor being the only way to get story. Does that at least make sense?
It makes sense, but I think where I'm having the issue here is that whereas Fallout 4 was still your essential Fallout game, and you could just add to it to kind of make up for its faults, Fallout 76 seems to be an issue at its core. And in order to fix that, you'd have to make it something that it's not. It's not just simply adding content in. And again, I'm going to throw this out there because I love doing this every single week. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
I knew it was coming. I knew it. All right.
The issue with it is at its core. Like, they could have added X-Men in. They could have added 3 vs. 3 in. You weren't going to fix it. You weren't. It was broken at its core.
God. And Dragon Mom says, so what you're saying is Fallout 76 is an actual vault. Yes, you've got it. You've hit the nail on the head. Fallout 76 is literally a Vault-Tec experiment to find out what works and what doesn't, so they could build it in their future games. Now, my fears are still there. That I've kind of evolved my fears a little bit over time. I don't think necessarily that my fear is they'll ignore player feedback. I think my fear is actually of the other players at this point. Like, what is the majority of mainstream players going to want, and does that even match up to me anymore?
Yeah, and I think that's the other big issue, though. But I will say, even though I agree it's a genius idea to use this as a testing ground for further games, that only works if you have enough sample size. If this should happen to come out and massively flop, again, like Infinite, you have no testing ground because nobody's playing. Like, there's a possibility that it could happen.
All right, so in this next part, they kind of switch gears and talk about how Bethesda's been getting along with Nintendo really well, which is something that they don't see from a lot of like other big studios talking to Nintendo, apparently, in the way that Bethesda does.
Mm-hmm.
Then their Game Central is asking about any possibility of like exclusives and stuff on the Switch. And earlier on, Pete Hines actually mentions the only reason that you didn't see things like Fallout previously, or Skyrim rather. We'll use Skyrim because that runs on everything. You know, it's like the Doom of 2018.
Yeah.
He talks about the only reason that's on the Switch now and wasn't really in the Nintendo family in the past is just something we've discussed before, which is the hardware. The Nintendo Switch is so much more open to third-party developers because it uses components, like actual components that are used everywhere else in the industry. So you have like Samsung parts in there. And so when people are developing games, it's a lot easier to port. You don't have to rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah, I really hope Nintendo's kind of learned their lesson this time around. We don't want another Wii U, which I discussed 2 weeks ago. So it's good to see them actually playing nice with third parties again after so many years.
I'm just happy to see Nintendo finding its stranglehold on the mobile market again, because I'm hoping in some way they might be able to fix what's wrong with phone games. We'll see, though.
I mean, that's kind of the hope that Nintendo will change phone games instead of phone games changing Nintendo.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting battle to watch. All right, so the last second questions from Game Central. Have you spoken to Nintendo about Smash Brothers? Pete Hines says, "Oh yeah." Game Central says, "I see." Well, let's leave it at that. Thanks very much for your time. So, obviously, from that, a lot of rumors are now starting to kind of go around about maybe we'll see some like Bethesda characters in Smash Brothers.
Or maybe one of the stages will be a new settlement that needs helping.
Oh my god. Okay, let's be real for a minute. If Preston Garvey was in Smash Brothers, I would have to play him just because of how great that would be. Like, he would literally like throw settlers at people. He would throw people at people. I could see that happening. Or maybe his ultimate was he'll teleport like a shadow step right next to a person and just be like, "Hey, a settlement needs your help." And it just like blows the guy off the screen. Like, I could see that. All right, this needs to happen.
Play Fallout 4, but that would be amazing.
Yeah, this needs to happen now.
Gosh.
And I'm really glad that ended on Nintendo talk, because I know you want to talk about Nintendo Direct a little bit.
I do. I wish I could like flip this thing around and say, okay, now here's a whole bunch of positive news after talking about Marvel Infinite, but I can't do that, I'm afraid.
Oh, Hidden Spy Trap says a settlement needs your help would be his final Smash. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great.
So,
I would love to see that. I do think that we'd be more likely to get something from Skyrim than Fallout, though, in Smash Brothers.
That's probably true. All right, you had a video for me. Did you want me to go ahead and just play this in the background while we talk?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to pause it after certain segments. The video is about 38 minutes long. A lot of what they show off doesn't get a lot of time, so there's not much to say about some of the smaller titles. Overall, I'd say the Direct is maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10. It wasn't great because so much of it is ports or things we already knew, but they did open pretty well.
So this is the opening that you said they did okay with? Because I haven't seen this yet. Oh, is he going to die again?
Like, that's what I thought. Like, I was totally going into this expecting, okay, so this is going to relate to the Smash Brothers thing, right? And they didn't do that, and I thought that was kind of like a missed opportunity. It would have made too much sense to do that. But this is Luigi's Mansion 3, which I've only played the first one. It was a pretty fun game. I know a lot of people are excited about
is this,
that.
Hold on, is this the spiritual successor to Ghostbusters?
It's not actually, because you're not like using a stream to catch the ghost. You're using a vacuum to catch ghosts.
Is it really that different?
It is, because you're not. You're playing as Luigi. Isn't that different enough?
I guess.
Like, I mean, sure, you had Venkman, but then you have Luigi. It's kind of different. None of the Ghostbusters were really scaredy cats.
Pink Puffball gets crafty again. So this is Kirby news.
So right off the bat, right after Luigi's Mansion 3 announcement, we get port number 1. So Kirby's Epic Yarn was a cute game, but I didn't think it was that great, honestly. Hidden Spike Trap and I played through it. They made it way too easy. Like, enemies can't kill you because you're yarn. You could die by falling into lava or in a hole, but the enemies just...
My first assumption was that like Epic Yarn was legitimately built for like really young kids. Is that like true, or is it really built for just anyone who wants to? Okay.
Like, Kirby games as a whole usually were built for the younger audience, but still enjoyable by the older audience. And I didn't feel that way with Epic Yarn.
See, I played myself some old school Kirby.
Yeah, like Superstar was great. Even the 64 one is enjoyable, but I didn't think Epic Yarn was that great. So to see a port of it with extras is just what they've been doing with the Switch lately. So that wasn't exciting for me.
That's fair. I guess if you want, anytime you want me to pause it, just tell me.
Oh yeah, yeah. So more ports. The third game, they've already had 2 ports.
So it seems like this Nintendo Direct is all about porting.
Not all of it, but that was a huge chunk of it. So I played this game back on the DS, and it's a really good game. It is. But the additions to it, which is the Bowser's Jr. Journey here, which is kind of like a side quest for a few hours, is not enough to make me want to rebuy it. Like, if I see it somewhere for $15, I'll go ahead and pick that up.
Hold on. So they're porting it and adding a couple of extra quests to it?
Yeah.
So it's Mario Kart 7, what is it, DX or LX or whatever?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of. It's a side mode. You play as Bowser Jr., and the battles are like group battles as opposed to normal 2-on-2 or whatever. It's not bad content, but it's not worth shelling out another $40 to $50.
And you said it was already released on a... It was already released on a mobile platform, right?
The Nintendo DS had the original game, which did not come with the Bowser Jr. side quest. So, I don't know, like $20 tops, and I'd say it might be worth it. So, 4th game, another port. They're bringing back the original Luigi's Mansion and putting it on the 3DS, which the original was on GameCube, so it didn't have the mobile feature, but still, you've showed 4 games, and the 3 of them are ports.
I'm okay with this one being a port, just because it wasn't on a mobile platform already.
Oh man, I understand, but it's so underwhelming so far for the Nintendo Direct to be almost all ports. And they added like a 2-player mode to this game, but I never really thought that it was the kind of game that needed 2 players to begin with. It's not a hard game. It's really not. I don't think adding the 2nd player really does anything for it.
Maybe it does for the younger audience, though.
Maybe. So, I'm not a Yokai Watch person.
I don't even know what this is.
The most that I've really known is that Yokai Watch is similar to Pokemon, but this game in particular looks like it's a completely different genre. I can't say I've ever really been interested in the series. Some of the designs are kind of cute, but I feel like I already have Pokemon, I have Dragon Quest Monsters, I don't really need another one. I don't know, maybe that's a terrible way of looking at it, but Yokai Watch seems to do much better in Japan than it does here.
It looks like it would be better in Japan. Like, you can sometimes just kind of tell, you know what I mean? Like, the audiences are different.
Oh yeah, they are vastly different. Sometimes
don't forget though the Moonrabbit crew update.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what that is.
And then this guy is being released on Nintendo.
I'd buy it.
I hope we get a clip of you saying that.
Oh my gosh. So the next thing we're gonna get a Splatoon 2 update.
I mean,
Splatoon's always been... Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they've become kind of like the poster child lately. It makes sense.
It's like their new IP. It's done extremely well. Like Splatoon was everywhere when it first came out, so it kind of makes sense that they would hype it up. But here's my issue with this: I can't tell based on the trailer what's new.
Really?
Really, I feel like you have to be a follower of the game to know what they're adding here. So and I think that's a problem.
So that's kind of a missed opportunity to bring new people into the fold.
Exactly. It's version 4, but what's different about it? They mentioned Turf War here, but to my knowledge, I thought it already had something like that. I know the original did, Did they exclude that from the second game so they could add it later? I don't understand.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. There really isn't much explanation. There's just little random clips of gameplay, and as an outsider, you look at it and you're just like, okay, but what does any of this mean? What is this game even about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, I understand what it's about just because I know what Splatoon is, but I can definitely see where people that haven't jumped into Splatoon yet, they wouldn't really get anything out of this reveal that would draw them in.
And as Mila is pointing out there, yeah, you are probably a follower of Splatoon, so you know what's new, but I don't have a clue. I think when you're showing off a trailer like that for an updated version, the main thing you should do is say, here is the new content. If you just show me parts of the game, I'm going to be like, well, I don't know if that was there before.
Oh, Bomberman? I mean...
Yeah. Oh my god.
Mega Man!
I think you ruined it right there.
He's got his iconic jump back, too.
Okay, so...
Okay, this looks good.
It does look good. Like, I agree. My only issue with this here is that I didn't really learn anything new from this trailer. Again, it was stuff that I already knew, and I already want the game. I don't think it's going to bring anyone new in, although I do have to point out how the announcer says the formidable bounce man. No. Like, I'm never going to find someone named Bounce Man formidable.
Well,
It's not going to happen.
I think showing off anything super new with Mega Man, I think maybe they get a free pass. And the only reason I say that is kind of, if you look at like the expectation people have, people just want a classic Mega Man game, right? So like they don't really have to show anything crazy and new. They just say, here's a classic Mega Man. This is what you ask for. Here's some gameplay. You're good to go. Like, I don't feel like they have to educate people like Splatoon does.
Now, I would agree with that. However, Capcom has been showing off every new boss that they've added. Every time they tell you, okay, we have a new boss to show out, they have a little trailer for that boss.
Really?
And
Okay.
this one, like, it's somewhat nice to see Bounce Man, but you didn't really show that much of it. And again, I want the game.
The demo's
but
available now. Have you tried the demo?
I actually have not.
You should
I've
try the demo and tell
probably-
me if it's worth checking out, because I know you'd be a good gauge of classic Mega Man games.
Yeah, you know what? I can do that for next week. I'll jot that down.
Hidden
And I'll
Spike Trap
mention it.
says, finally! Everyone in the Mega Man fan base crying with blubbering tears of happiness. It's so true. Oh,
Yeah,
Dragon,
we've been waiting forever.
Dragon Mom's going to stream it as well, if she can. So that might be good too. I'll definitely watch it because I'm a big Mega Man fan.
I'll tell you what, Mila. If you stream Mega Man 11, I'll stream Mighty Number 9 back to back with you. What you say?
Oh my god!
And we can compare. I mean, I think we already know which one's the better game, even though 11's not out. But we can compare.
Mario Tennis. I don't really care about Mario Tennis.
So I loved the original one on the N64. It seems strange, but it's actually a really addicting game.
I don't really care for any sports games on. Maybe that's just it. Maybe it's just because I don't really care about sports games. Like, I'd rather just go out and play them. But there are people that like it.
NBA Jam,
Yeah, but that wasn't really basketball. Let's be real.
NFL Blitz.
That's not really football.
This isn't really tennis. Like, if
Okay.
you play it, it's really not.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, okay.
It is, but, you know. This is like the Mario Kart version of tennis.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. That was actually a really good sales tactic. You should get into sales, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I could come up with something like that for every game, I probably would, but I couldn't come up with anything for Infinite. Like,
And it came out so fast, too. It's like, I come into a car dealership, it's like, I don't want the Ferrari. And you're like, here's all the reasons you want it. And they're like, okay. Arcade classics.
so, this was kind of interesting to me, and I'm going to be paying close attention to this to see what the price tag on it is. So, we all know compilation games have been around for a long time. Capcom's giving us a beat-em-up compilation.
Oh, they
Yeah.
bring in Captain Commando?
Yes. It's coming with 5 normal games that we've had before and 2 games Armored Warrior and Battle Circuit that have never been on a console. So I might actually pick this up if it's not too expensive.
This could be good.
It supposedly has online play, like you can see there.
Okay, all right. So right there, the online play, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Up until they said online play, my answer was just going to be I'll just emulate it. If they have online play and it works really good, it's going to be better than emulating with like custom janky network code.
That's exactly my thoughts on it. I was looking at this thing, it's like, okay, so I've played this game and I've played this game, and yeah, I don't really have anyone offline to play them with. The moment I saw the online play, that was my thought. If it's good online play, then I want this.
Yeah.
Like, that was a must-have.
That's how you resell old games, right there. That's how you do it.
So this one kind of saddens me a bit.
Why does it look
it's
like
another port. It's another port. It's a port of Super Mario Brothers U with Super Luigi U tacked into the same game, which I didn't like Luigi. And they gave you 2 extra characters, which Nabbit, as you can see, cannot be hurt by enemies.
Okay,
and
so
Toadette, who can transform into Peach, has her ability.
okay, but what's the point in having a character that can't get hurt?
Oh, that can't get hurt by abilities?
Yeah, like Nabbit.
Okay, so pause it for a sec here, actually. So, they had Nabbit in another game. It was like a downloadable character or something, if I recall, for Mario U, which is what this is based on. So around that time, I basically had the same thought as you. What's the point of a character that can just run through everything, that cannot get hurt by anything?
Right, it feels like a cheat to me, like without knowing much about it.
It feels like a little cheat. But I noticed around that time, somebody had come out with a very heartfelt story. Their young daughter, who has vision issues, was able to enjoy this game because of Nabbit.
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for me.
I know. But to me, that's kind of a big thing. Like, I'm never going to use Nabbit. And normally I'd say I hate the fact that people are just going to cheese it. But it really got me thinking there are people that can't play the games normally, and this is kind of a lead-in for them. Because having vision issues, you're not going to be able to see everything very clearly. You're not going to be able to experience the game like most players will.
I guess. I don't know, man. Like, I almost feel like that's a way of exploiting feeling.
Like, I understand that because I'm sure that wasn't their intention when they created the character.
Think about something like pro football, right? So in pro football, what if we allowed people who lost their legs in the war to go into pro football, and we give them cyborg legs that allow them to run faster than every single other player on the field? On one hand, you could say it's amazing they get to finally play the sport they've never been able to. But on the other hand, you could say this is changing football as a whole in a way that I don't like. And both things can be true in my mind.
I guess I draw the line between what's single player and what's competitive affecting other people. I guess it doesn't affect anyone.
I guess with it being Nintendo and it being a Mario game, I'm okay with it. But if that kind of behavior were to go to every game and every game made concessions where it was super cheaty to be inclusive, then at that point I'd be like, well, these games aren't really for me anymore, unfortunately.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, when they had Super Mario 3D Land and they had the golden leaf that you could transform into the character that's invincible and can fly infinitely, I hated it. I still hate it. Like, I do hate Nabbit. I'll never use him. But considering considering it has not affected the rest of their content and it's not competitive.
And you don't have to play
Yeah.
Nabbit for any trophies or anything, right?
Right. Like, as long as these additions are not affecting how the content's going to be, I mean, they're not making the game easier. They're just giving you a way to play through it if you otherwise wouldn't be. And I don't think that that's right for people to just say, well, I'm not that good, let me cheese it. I don't agree with that at all. I've always hated that kind of thing. Let's make the game easier for people who don't want to put in the effort.
Well, the perfect example of that, too, in our Discord server recently, I didn't get involved in the conversation, but they were talking about Final Fantasy, and I think Zalbathar brought up a menu that had, like, infinite gil and other things you could just turn on, and I didn't respond, but, like, something about that just disgusted me. Like, that's a base option to just cheat? Like, you don't, that's part of the game to just cheat now? What? When did this become normal?
No, I don't like that at all. I guess it kind of goes back to something we were talking about a few weeks ago. Intentions matter. If your intention is to include this character so that more people can play, that's fine. If your intention is to include this character so that more people who don't want to get better can beat the game, then that's not fine.
I think it goes to show you who the gaming audience is now, too, because, I mean, maybe it's just because of my age, but the whole reason I play games, is to be faced with some kind of challenge, whether it be a mental challenge, a response timing challenge. That's why I took to fighting games so much, because it's all very reactionary, very response oriented, very mental. You've got to strategize plans and move on your feet and quickly react. And there's a sense of, I think at its best point, I play games for a sense of overcoming odds.
Yeah, I do too.
So to me, and I can only speak from my perspective, when you give options to just remove odds, you are deleting part of the game and you are deleting the reason I play games to start with. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I agree to a certain extent. I guess, again, my thought goes back to why was this character added? Like,
I can be okay with it because it's Nintendo.
I feel like whatever you add, people are going to find a way to abuse. Somebody's always going to use it for wrong, but I think of all the enhancements that we've had. You know, what about colorblind mode that people have had? Well, you know, that's just a way for people that are colorblind to play the game.
But that's different.
It has no effect. It has no effect on the people that don't need it, and I agree with that.
But that doesn't give you an edge either, though. It
doesn't give you an edge. No, but I think about for things like Nabbit. While I don't like the inclusion of it specifically, because I'll never use it, as I said before, if it does not affect the base content of the game and it's not competitive, then I can see it being okay.
I think I would draw the line where it's not required to play as Nabbit for any unlocks or content. As long as that's not the requirement, then I'm okay. Like, if it's a feature added for accessibility, like an easy mode in a game would be for other players, that's fine. As long as it's not touching the reason I play games, then that's whatever. Now, if it was a multiplayer game, get that shit out of here. I don't want to see it.
Right. Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like, I don't want any...
You just went mute. Okay, there you go.
I did?
Yeah, you don't want any...
I don't want any easy mode multiplayer. I hated that in fighting games where you're playing against somebody and they select easy mode so they can just hit two buttons to do something.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely hated that. Absolutely hated that.
That does not belong in competitive at all. No. Any versus games, any team-based versus modes, fighting games, sports games, take the easy crap out. If there's because people are going to take the path of least resistance, and you lose that sense of overcoming in a competitive sport that's all about overcoming. You lose all of that if you just say, well, this guy can kick the ball farther if he just wants to press one button, whereas you have to do like all these extra maneuvers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think we're on the same page there.
All right. The comment on what Evil Moo channel. Yes, I do like Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but I can still hate the auto combos, and I don't use them. And if I'm going to play somebody, I don't want them using them either. Now, I don't have the option of stopping them from doing that, but I don't have to like it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very big issue these days, adding accessibility that doesn't lower the quality or difficulty of the game. As far as Nabbit is concerned, you don't have to play him. He's basically like going to the options and changing it to easy. That's fine, as long as I can still get what I want from the game without anything being taken away.
And I just want to like say one last thing on that. Like, I totally understand, and I'm really happy that people that couldn't play the games are able to now because of this character. I get it. I think it's great and all that. But what I don't like is when there's even the slightest smell that a story like that is being used to push an agenda, right? Because you can justify tearing down everything that makes a game great using a story like that. Like, you know, oh, my son just came back from the Marines and he has no face anymore, and so we're making the game where you can press A to win. You know what I mean? Like, you can justify destroying the world using a sob story. It's so easy to do it. You can start wars over it.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. I think the thing of that is how you present it. Don't present it in a way that it's great that games are getting easier. Present it in a way that now everyone can play it.
Can you press A to blow up the world? Asks Dragon Mom. I think you need like at least a team of people to press A at the same time. I'm pretty sure the nuclear launch sequence is a quick time event. If you really think about it, it's the end of the world is literally a quick time event. So if you think of quick time events in games, they're a precursor to the end of the world. Holy crap, we solved it.
So, real quick, one last thing to touch on. You know, easy mode's technically always been a thing. We've always had Game Genie. We've always had Game Shark.
True.
So there's always been a way to cheat if you wanted to. I personally like beating a game legit first and then going and seeing, okay, what codes can I use?
I know you're trying to talk. Crazier. I'm sorry. Chat's just got me rolling now on this quick time event stuff.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so
it's a matter of making it accessible without lowering the quality and difficulty. If you can do that, I'm okay with it.
Hello, Constantine. Welcome. We're talking about the Nintendo Direct at the moment. Are you ready for me to continue on?
Yeah, I think so. We spent a lot of time on that issue. So as far as this game goes, I really liked New Super Mario Bros. U.
Yeah.
I did not like New Super Luigi U, but most people did. But I already bought them, so I have no reason to buy that again.
Is ready to roll. Are you?
What game is this?
This is a meme game. Like, I don't really know what else to say.
Oh, Katamari. Okay.
It's Katamari Damacy. Like,
I know what this game is.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be a remake of the first game.
There is something about this game that makes me kind of interested in it. I'm not gonna lie.
This is one of those games I just don't get. Like, I know a lot of people were excited for this. You roll things. I don't understand it.
They did a really good job of capturing an audience with a game like this. It may not be for you. It may, even at some level, not be for me. I still want to try it, but I know it's probably not for me. But you know there are a ton of people out there that would love something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
They do. That just kind of goes back to the games for everything. for everyone. It's great that y'all have that game. I'll never understand it, but I'm happy for you.
Hidden Spike Trap and Dragon Mom are going nuts over Katamari.
I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand what's fun about that.
You're just not part of the target audience. That's all that is.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not.
It's a very smart game, regardless. To even have it in existence, it's got an audience, and they've played to the audience.
I guess. Okay, so this is like...
What am I looking at?
This is the Nintendo Switch Online.
So we have some more information about it, or?
Sort of. So the first thing they want to show off is that you have online play, which you already had without paying for it. So that's not really a feature I'm willing to admit to. Like,
was that
you
Minecraft?
didn't gain anything. Yeah. Minecraft is on the Switch.
Not modded though. I'm spoiled.
So the whole online play, I can't get excited for because we had it. It doesn't matter to me.
You can even play classic.
Okay, so here's my problem with the Nintendo Direct online play. I'm guessing that was the end of like the online push.
Yes.
So right off the bat, here's my problem with it. Literally, all that did was say, "Guys, we have online," and then show a lot of pictures of people playing online. Like that didn't do anything to help satiate worries, concerns. It didn't answer any questions. It was literally, I mean, I hate to use the term because I think it's still smart to remind people that online is there, but it almost felt kind of propaganda-ish to me.
Because I don't think that they have anything positive to say about it, because anyone who has had one of the past few Nintendo systems knows that there was online play and that it was free. So pushing online play, but now for a cost, it's kind of hard to get excited about that.
Maybe that's why they didn't want to make a piece about anything. They wanted it to be fluff. They wanted it to be friendly and just try to build up a little bit of hype. But the problem is I can see behind the curtains. You know what I mean? Like I see that push and I know exactly what they're doing. Like Nintendo, I see you. You're not secret enough. I see exactly what's happening. I see the wizard behind the curtain. Welcome again, Constantine. Minecraft was on the Wii U, they say.
Yes, it was.
See, I didn't keep up with it. I would just play it on PC.
Yeah, Nintendo and Microsoft are playing nice together now. So, but the thing about the online play is they don't come out and say we're going to have dedicated servers so that it's going to be good online play. We didn't get that. And I know I and many other people are going under the assumption that there's not dedicated servers because there hasn't really been. So now we're being charged for the same online play that we were previously getting for free.
Well, I mean, as much as you want to say that seems shady to you, here's what's going to happen with that. Eventually, it'll be a distant memory. And no one's really going to think about it. Like, does anyone really talk about the whole or Microsoft versus Sony? One of them's free online, one of them's not anymore. Because nowadays, most people just assume you're going to pay money for the online service.
Actually, that has resurged lately because of the Switch. But no, for a while, that kind of went dormant until the issue came up again. And now everyone is coming out upset that PlayStation went to costing, but they kind of give PlayStation a pass because supposedly they have dedicated servers and mic chat and all that other stuff. I don't know if that's been proven, but Nintendo's never had that kind of thing.
Right.
So it feels like you're just giving them money to give them money. It's like Nintendo came back later and said, "Oh, we should have been charging for this all along."
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
the same thing happened with Sony. I mean, because the Sony Online was completely free once upon a time.
Yeah,
and I mean, Constantine says, "Remember, Xbox 360 and Xbox One had Xbox Live," so I think Nintendo is trying to get into it, and I think that's going to be true of any gaming platform, even if some magical competitor comes into the scene with another console. I guarantee you they're going to do it because from a business perspective, you sit back and you think, oh, they can get away with charging people for online service. Why aren't we charging for this? And business wise, it makes sense. You want to charge people if they're willing to pay. Why not let them pay? And that's kind of the thought.
Okay, but as I mentioned a few weeks ago when I talked about this, not every Nintendo Switch game that has online play is going to require the online service. There's still going to be plenty of games you can play online without the service for free.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. That's very convoluted. I mean, that's good in one hand, but on the other, it just devalues the reason to have an online service.
I agree. So this right here, as I talked about a couple weeks ago, they'd showed off 10 games that you were getting for free on the classic.
Oh,
console
yes!
for
Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, whichever way you know it as.
Yeah, so now they're showing off a few more of them, which they've made some good choices here. But I still feel like that's not really worth the price. Yeah, they have Ghosts and Goblins. They had River City Ransom there, that you can see. They have Solomon's Key, I believe. A few other games.
So is this part of the arcade? Like, if you pay the subscription, you get access to these?
Yes.
Are
you
any
do.
of these multiplayer or just single-player ports?
They said that some of them will be multiplayer with online play, which that part is nice. But not all of them.
See, at that point, I could justify having an online just until we're done playing, and then I would cancel it.
Yeah, although if you do cancel it, you lose access to all that stuff.
That's why I would do it when we're playing, and then when we're done playing, cancel
Gosh.
it.
So they are going to bring out more games over time. So it's not just going to be those 20.
Smartphone app.
Now, as far as the cloud saves go, just to catch up a little bit, they have said that not all games will work with cloud save data. Like, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee will not work with cloud save
So
data.
that's only
Splatoon
local?
2 will not work with cloud save data.
What's the reason? Is it some kind of technical limit, or their bureaucracy working with third-party devs, or what?
See, those are both first-party games.
That's true. That's true.
Their reasoning for it is that cloud saves for those types of games opens the door to cheating. Like, if you traded a Pokemon, then you could just restore your cloud save data and get the Pokemon back.
I mean, you can code around that, though. Like, you can authenticate
could.
very easily.
Oh, yeah, you could. For Splatoon, their reasoning is that you could abuse cloud saves for ranked play, which, again, they can work around that. They're just kind of being lazy.
That's unfortunate. And now
Yeah.
it looks like they're talking about the smartphone app.
I don't care about this thing. It's basically their version of online voice chat.
And I would just
everyone
use...
has a smartphone.
And if you have a smartphone, chances are you're probably already in a Discord server, so... It's one of those
Right.
things, to me, it's almost like World of Warcraft voice chat. Like, I never used it. I never had a reason to use it. We used a vent server back in the day, but it was there for the people who did want to use it. I'm okay with that.
Right. I mean, it's not like it's a bad addition. I just think that it would have been better to have regular voice chat, though I understand, as you mentioned it before, the fact that they don't means it's less of a cost to us, so I guess it's okay. Now, the last thing they mentioned there is special offers, and all they had to say was, more to announce in the future.
So that's going to be the pricing, is $20 a year.
That's going to be the pricing. Now, I didn't get to mention this last time when I was talking on here with Largo, but what we are planning on doing is we're planning on getting a bunch of Fortis and non-Fortis members together, and all of us just getting the family account, because then we'd only have to pay a little bit for the whole year.
I wonder what the limitation on family accounts is.
So far, the only thing we know is that you can have up to 8 people, I believe. And I haven't seen any kind of limitation on distance. So, as far as I know, as long as all 8 of you have an account registered with Nintendo, you should be able to do a family account. That seems kind of sketchy to me, because then why wouldn't everyone do that? But at this point, they haven't told us we can't.
So Evil Mumu Chan says, "Wait a minute, $20 a year isn't bad at all. No one should be complaining about that." I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not big into the Nintendo scene right now, and maybe you can help me out here. But even if it was only $1 a year, I haven't seen anything that says you need to have online to get what you want out of the Switch.
That's kind of it right there. If you don't pay for the online service, there's a few first-party games you can't play online.
Do we know which ones yet?
No.
See, I would have to, before I were to make a choice, I would have to know about that. Like, I would have to know which ones you have to pay to play online, and then I could say, well, maybe it's worth it. But what if I don't like those games? You know, what if I don't even play those games? Then the Nintendo online service doesn't even help me because, you know, I can't do the cloud saves with things like Pokemon, which I would play. Yeah. So what exactly would the online be giving me at that point, you know?
Well, that's the complaint right there. $20 a year? No, that's not bad at all. What the problem is that it used to be free and now it's not. That's the issue. Not how much it is, the fact that we're now paying for something we used to get free.
It goes back to what Pete Hines was saying in the Game Central interview. It's a value proposition. You have to convince the buyers that there is enough value for you to buy it. And as a potential buyer, I am not yet convinced. I think that's the best way to put it.
This is basically a way for them to, quote unquote, paywall online play for some of their better games. We don't know yet, but we're kind of all assuming that Smash Brothers is going to require this, because why would they not?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably pay for it if I was planning on getting big into Smash Brothers and playing it constantly. I could justify paying $20 a year for access to it, but I swear it better not be peer-to-peer. If it's peer-to-peer, there's no reason on this earth for them to charge you for online access for peer-to-peer.
My thoughts exactly. And there, to my knowledge, has been no mention of, again, dedicated servers. They just mention, oh, you can play online. But we already could. Well, here's all this other stuff. You know, I don't care. Like, you're offering me 20 NES games, which is great for people who never played those, but I've played almost all of them. I still own a ton of them. I could just download them. Sorry to mention emulation, but it's true. That's not an incentive for me.
So Constantine says they should make external storage drives for the Switch. They would make extra money, like 1 terabyte drives. Do they not make those? Do they not have Nintendo brand storage? That seems like missed money if they don't make that. What?
I know that's been a heavily requested thing.
That's free money on the table.
I honestly can't say if I've been checking into that.
Because look, they use standardized equipment in the Switch. There's nothing truly crazy, exotic, or in-house about the Nintendo Switch. That's why it's so easy for third-party devs to get in. It's why you have Skyrim and stuff going to the Switch. All they have to do, if they wanted to take the most hands-off approach possible, find the most trusted storage company possible, whether it be something like, probably like Samsung, especially with all their solid-state drives, and say, look, we will license you the Nintendo logo to slap on your drives. Here's the firmware you need to work with the Switch. And then they could just hands off and just bring in money. What are they doing?
Well, I guess my thing there is that, one, since the Switch is using actual cartridges again, a lot of the data is being saved there. So you're not going to fill up your Switch with just saved data from a cartridge. If you're a digital person, which I'm not, I could see you using it. So I don't really look at that kind of stuff. The second thing, though, is that, and this is actually something I did want to talk about on the future when I could research it a little better. Somehow, games that are put on the Nintendo eShop end up being a lot more compressed than their competitors. Like, you can have something that's 80 gigabytes on one system, and then it's like 16 on the Switch somehow. And I've seen this consistently again and again.
Now, is
And I did
this
want to
first party or third party?
third party.
Third party games are now smaller for the same amount of content?
Yeah, on the Switch. And this is one of those things I really wanted to do some deep research on and make that a topic, but I never got the chance to.
I'll give you
an
educated guess. Because the Switch is made out of known components, there's less they have to do to code around it.
It's possible.
So it's possible that all that extra code was just all the garbage crap they needed to add to make their other games work on the Nintendo consoles.
That could very well be. I've often heard the reason cited is compression techniques.
That's true too.
But as far as external drives go, since I will probably never be in need of one, I haven't really looked that up.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like there's money on the table that they can make completely hands off. The only reason they wouldn't be doing that from a business standpoint, in my mind, is if they do plan on having something in-house done, just so they can make more money on it in the long term.
I mean, either that or they would do it to heavily push the cloud saves.
Yeah, but it's hard to push the cloud saves when the games people are really wanting aren't even going to have support for it, you know?
I suppose. Though, again, there's only been those two that I know of that were mentioned to not use it. I'm sure there will be others.
Yeah, I suppose you're probably right.
So,
Some money with the family membership.
yeah, the family plan. I don't know any reason why we can't do that. Why doesn't everyone do that? Just get 7 of your friends, and you'll only pay a few dollars a year instead of 20.
Yep. I mean, everyone already does that with things like Spotify, you know? Almost everyone's on a family plan that I know of all across the world.
So I actually thought this was kind of cool, but then something I found out later absolutely ruined it, which I'll mention after they show this off.
So you can play the classic games with the classic controller. Decent for the nostalgia, but those are not comfortable controllers.
Kind of. They're actually Joy-Con.
Simply attaching them to the console. We hope you'll enjoy using these controllers to play this.
Now, I wouldn't pay $60.
I wouldn't
that,
pay
but
$60.
it's, like,
I could make one for like $10.
you know, I thought that would be a great little novelty to have, just to own, because sometimes, even if the controllers weren't the best, just playing it like I used to as a kid is a great feeling for me.
I think they're overestimating the nostalgia value.
Well,
Get ready to set off on a cancel.
if you want to pause that for a sec, what absolutely ruined the controller thing for me, and I can't believe they're doing this, is that it's only available for people who are buying the Nintendo Switch Online service.
What? So a physical device is being paywall locked by a digital service?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Hitler did this at one point.
Like, you know, I was watching that little trailer for it, and I thought, oh, that's cute. I might pick those up. $60?
Hold on. Let me pause. I just want to ask this again for clarity for everyone and for me. So you're telling me, okay, the two NES controllers,
Yeah.
the physical controllers you hold in your hands,
Yes.
you cannot purchase those unless you buy a digital service first.
As far as we know, yes.
That is some backwards. What are you doing, Nintendo?
I don't know what their thought process with that was.
That's some like mafia maneuvers right there. First of all, okay, I've got so many things I could say, but I'm here. Okay, let me just start. I'm stumbling over myself after hearing that. Part one of this whole problem. You'll make more money in the long run if you sell it to everybody, especially at $60 a pop.
I mean, somebody will pay for it. I'm not, but somebody will.
Part two. That is so mafia-like. Hey kid, we're going to sell you these controllers, but only if you take this that's in my trench coat on this side first. It's like, because what that does, look at the optics of this. Like, who in their right mind thought this was going to look okay? Forget if it is or is not the right choice. This does not look good. Because what this says to me as a consumer is our internet online plan is so garbage, we have to force you to buy it or no one's going to be on it. That's what that says to me. Whether true or false, that's what it says to me. Trayton with the tier 1 sub. Welcome to the stream, and thank you so much for the sub. Honestly, that's amazing.
Thank you for the sub, Trey. We're going to use it to buy those NES Joy-Con.
And Constantine says, hey, I can't wait for the third-party sellers to start selling the $20 a pack of 2 NES controllers. Come on, Rock Candy, get on it. Yeah, or Mad Cats. Maybe they could get back into, because they had the huge issue with arcade sticks. Maybe they could find a home in making nostalgic controllers for people.
Actually, to comment on something Evil Moo Moo Chan said there, wait for people to sell them to GameStop. See, that's the problem right there. Scalpers are going to be all over this. Expect these to be on eBay the next day for a way inflated price.
Yep. It's like, well, we could justify paying more since you're not getting the online service.
They clearly have missed the mark. Like, Nintendo has never been very good on the online scene. They've always been kind of out of it, but it really feels like this time they have completely missed the mark. And I'm one of the biggest Nintendo supporters in our group. There's no good reason to paywall a physical device.
No,
there is none.
That just bothers me. Like I'm physically shaking from this.
I still want the Nintendo Online service, probably for Smash Brothers and a few other games, but you're definitely not giving me a reason to feel like my $20 is justified.
Constantine says, I mean, some people from other regions will get it cheaper and sell it for less on eBay. I don't think that you'll get it to the same price, though, because...
I don't think so.
Because the way things like eBay work, it's all, you look at what other people are selling it for and go for that. You're not going to find it for the $60 tag. It's going to be more expensive because let's say I'm someone who gets it in another region and I go on eBay to sell it and I see that everyone's selling it for $20 more than I was planning on selling it for. Why would I not put it up for more expensive? You know what I mean? Like, that's free money.
And I've seen this kind of thing that they've done with the Amiibos, with the NES and SNES Classics. Scalpers, every time the next day they're on there upselling it because they know they'll get it. And they will get it.
Yeah.
This is no different.
This seems like a really huge misstep for Nintendo. Is this getting like crazy coverage right now, or people need to be talking about this?
I have seen it on a few websites being covered so far, but it really is that big of a deal. And I think the reason why you may not see as many people complaining about it is just because who'd pay $60 for that? I wouldn't, but you will have those collectors that have to have everything that are going to go buy one off eBay for $200 because they refuse to pay the $20 Nintendo service. But I can't see a ton of people buying $60 NES Joy-Con.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, I would pay extra money for like a really well built arcade stick. I did for years. Even when I was building my own, I was still getting either Sanwa or Saimetsu authentic parts for my arcade sticks because when it comes to that kind of thing, it's worth the extra money to get that quality and life out of it. But you're talking about a nostalgic controller with
basically
with 4 buttons and 4 directions.
I mean, if I have the option to go buy a regular gray Switch Joy-Con for $40 or the NES one for $60, I'm just going to opt for the $40 one because that $20 is not worth it to me.
Constantine says, but wait, if you put it for less in the business mind, remember, more sales mean you'll get more money than the other. So you're talking about someone taking it, selling it for less, but doing like bulk. So you're dealing with a lot of product rather than a small inventory. But I still don't see, even if you're doing it in bulk and you're undercutting, Like, there's a difference between selling it for like $1 or $2 cheaper and selling it for like $10 cheaper. You're not going to be able to make it lower than what people would be able to buy it for themselves already. Because let's say I'm someone who really wanted it. I would get the online service, I would get the controller, and then I'd cancel the online service. So I'd be paying $80, right? So you would have to be selling the controller for less than $80 for me to get a value out of that. And I'm not sure. I guess time will tell, but I don't see the controllers being less than 80 on eBay, because I've seen so many times where things like this were sold and it's always super inflated pricing and no one will sell it for lower.
Now, I will say, if you go into an actual store and try to purchase Joy-Cons, you're going to be paying $60 to $80 anyway. But I can get them secondhand for half the price. I'm not going to be able to get these secondhand for half the price.
I feel like they're going to be kind of like a collector's almost. Hidden Spike Trap says it perfectly. Tendency to be underproduced. Yeah, see, that's kind of where I stand on it. I feel like the supply and demand chain is going to be very well controlled, where the supply is always kept low enough that the pricing can be through the roof in the markets. Nintendo's really good at doing that. They're really good at market strategy.
Yeah. So, just to clarify so people can understand, if you buy the $20 online service and then you buy the $60 Joy-Cons, you've essentially paid for a regular set of Joy-Cons, which is about $80. So it's not so much the fact that...
But you're getting less than a Joy-Con back if you look at the inputs. Like, is the nostalgia factor worth that much to make up for not having the Joy-Con features? I just don't see it.
I guess my issue, again, is like I said, I always thought the Joy-Cons were way overpriced. Like $80 for regular ones is not worth it. That's why if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it secondhand. These here, just knowing that I'm not going to be able to do that already means they're off the table for me. I'm not paying $80 for those.
And Trayton, what Trayton's saying in chat, that's basically Nintendo 101. I guarantee you that's like, if you join Nintendo, that's probably like in their first onboarding orientation. They've always been that way though. Like, remember back in the day too, like Rumble packs, memory card expansions, they've always been about the extras. The HD chip you had to get, some games came with it, but some didn't, and you had to buy it.
Some of them were worth it, some weren't. Like, I liked the Rumble pack, like a lot of people did, but I wouldn't pay for one separately. I thankfully got mine with Star Fox 64, I believe.
I love them Star Fox games. Anyways, so back on topic. Did you want to move on yet, or?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Pokemon Let's Go.
It looks cool.
This game. I hate this game. I hate this game.
Oh no!
It's not for me, so I don't.
Hold on.
I don't want to.
Okay. That is on water, right?
Yeah.
And the water's like a ground.
Yeah.
And then the ball bounces on the wet water.
Yeah.
0 out of 10, worst game, doesn't even understand basic physics.
But the other Pokemon games do that.
That's no excuse.
Like, I can't fault them for that. What I can fault them for
Jesus
is that they're bringing
Pokeball?
HMs back.
They're bringing what back? HM?
Yeah, HMs.
Nice, so I can finally just HM cut myself over this game.
Well, they're called secret techniques this time around, and I don't think they take up a move slot because only your Pikachu or Eevee can do it, but they're still HMs.
So how does battling in this work?
It's kind of like traditional battling. You still have 4 moves. You're still against another Pokemon. If it's a trainer, if it's a wild Pokemon, you just throw the Pokeball at it. No battling.
Yeah, that's not what I want out of a Pokemon game.
No.
I'm sure their mainline games will go back to the good formula, but this whole Let's Go thing, I played it for a while and I was like, this isn't fun. I'd rather play like an emulator on my phone.
I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I love the main series, but Go and Let's Go don't really appeal to me. I will say this
That's
is kind of
cool.
cute. Like, I do like this.
Eevee style Joy-Con and Pikachu style Joy-Con, as long as you get the online service. No, they probably didn't do that for this one, but still.
No. Like, I would get that, but I don't want the game.
I would get that.
So, really, their only real issue there... Oh, wait, pause it for a sec, because I got something segment.
All right.
Their only issue there is that they show off Let's Go, and then they say, okay, we're going to have HMs back, which most people didn't
Hold
seem
on,
to
is
like.
that Nintendo calling you? They want to talk about about how we portrayed the online service.
No.
Delivering content strikes via phone call now.
My God.
Soon, because you didn't pick up, the next step, a Nintendo brand helicopter with like a Pikachu on the side is going to come overhead, and like someone will jump down in a paratrooper outfit that's like themed like Pikachu to serve you some court papers. That's the Nintendo way.
No, please. I can only accept those court papers if I signed up for the online service. So, the way you promote Let's Go, which a lot of people already didn't want, is by saying, we brought HMs back, which a lot of people didn't want. Sounds like a bad idea to me.
I didn't mind HMs. I thought it was kind of a cool thing. A little extra thing for World.
I don't mind the HMs themselves so much as the fact that I always hated HM slaves, which a lot of people hated.
But
And
I like
hated-
that. I liked being forced to decide between having a full team of powerful Pokemon and having like your utility Pokemon with you. Like, to me, that was a balancing thing when discovering the game for the first time.
But the problem with it is the utility Pokemon's not really... It's basically, you just have areas that are locked behind HMs. Like, you can't cut this tree down if you don't have that Pokemon. Okay, well, I'll go to the Pokemon Center, switch out that Pokemon, bring back the cut Pokemon, get whatever the stupid item is, go back to the Pokemon Center, trade out the HM Pokemon again for my 6 Pokemon, continue. The problem with this is when you would come across places where you couldn't get by without the HM, like the caves where you had to have Flash.
That's true. You know what?
I hated that.
You know what it sounds like they need? It sounds like they need like that what is his name? Nabbit or something. What was his name?
Nabbit.
Nabbit. Sounds like Pokemon just needs to have their own Nabbit, so you can just at like the main menu select a character between Ash or Nabbit who can avoid all high grass and run through walls.
Yeah, and he can also run across the water. Sure.
Yeah,
You
Jesus.
can just go right to the Pokemon League and win it. So, to segment into Diablo 3, I just want to mention the first thing he says here, gates to the burning hell open. Didn't we just talk about Let's Go? Why are we talking about it again?
Oh my God.
Nintendo Switch.
The way I see this is Diablo 3 was a failure and abortion of a Diablo game, and now it's coming to mobile
Consume your life, both inside and outside.
because it
I don't
didn't
know.
work.
I'm not a Diablo person, but the one thing I do have to say about this is seeing the Butcher and Asmodon and Diablo himself in there after seeing them in HOTS, I feel like I can relate to it a little bit. Like,
Well-
Blizzard's marketing technique worked. I'm still not going to buy the game, but
Here's where I stand on it. Diablo 3 on PC to me, and I know there are a lot of Diablo fans, so I'll take this personal, it's just my opinion, coming from old school Diablo, was a garbage Diablo game. It was not Diablo in any way, shape, or form. However, on a mobile platform, the Diablo 3 alchemy, as it were, mixes perfectly. Because being a little bit more dumbed down makes sense because you're on the go, you don't have constant attention, eyes on the platform constantly. It makes sense. Diablo 3 on the Switch, I'm going to give that a thumbs up. Diablo 3 on PC, no way in hell.
that's a good way of putting it. Hey DJ, welcome to the stream.
Hey DJ.
So, Super Mario Party. I'm excited about this one. Because we're going back to the original formula. We're going around the board separately. We're playing mini games after every turn. We're trying to collect the star. Like, why did it take you so long to figure out this is what we wanted? And I'm actually kind of excited for some of the new features, like this right here. Each character has the choice between rolling a regular dice block or a special dice block that only they have access to.
That's cool. I like that.
Like Bowser's dice block there could have like a 10 and 2 9s, but then the other 3 sides are lose coins and don't move.
I could see
There's
that.
there's always that risk, and it's great. And 80 new mini games.
See,
I'm excited for Super Mario Party.
just the extra dice, like the character specific dice, that excites me because it adds so much extra depth that you don't really consider. And that's not something I usually think about Mario games. I don't think depth with Mario games, but Mario Party, it looks like they're returning to the formula that works, and they're adding more depth to it, which is always a good thing to me. So I give Super Mario Party thumbs up.
I love the new dice blocks because it actually gives you a particular reason to pick a certain character other than I just like that character.
Very true.
It adds strategy to it. Okay, so this was a new game showed off by Game Freak called Town, which it'll have another name.
That looks cute. What's it about?
It actually does. So from what I can tell, this is an RPG game, and everything takes place in this one town. The entire game is this town, and things happening to this town.
It almost,
as you can see there.
It almost has like a Howl's Moving Castle feel to it.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it. It does kind of look like that, doesn't it? I could probably see us getting this. I think Allison would like this.
I was just going to say, I think Allison would adore a game like that.
Yeah, now, they obviously didn't show off too much because it's still early in development, but I think it looks good.
The critically acclaimed city building game Cities
Okay, so for this game,
there's a city in need of a new mayor.
I don't like these kind of games. There's nothing I can say. Like, I'm not a SimCity kid.
I like these kinds of games, but I don't think I would buy one on a Switch. Just because games like this, I like to really dig in and concentrate and focus on efficiency. And on a Switch on the go, the last thing I want to do is sit there and really think hard. You know what I mean? That for the same reason Diablo 3 I think is great for the Switch. A city management game I don't personally find value in on a Switch.
Well, you know, the Switch is not just a portable console. You can't play it on the TV. So,
but if I'm home, but if I'm home and I have the choice between the myriad of computer city building or the Switch city building, I'm probably going to go to the computer. And if I'm not at home, the chances I want to play a city building game go down dramatically.
So what you're saying is, when you're walking across that busy crosswalk, you don't want to be installing a new road in your game and get hit by a car. I got you.
That's the last thing we need. There we go. City Skylines Go. That's what that is.
I mean, it looks good for the type of game it is, but these never really interested me. Apparently, there's a lot you can do. You're managing an entire city, and you actually can do a lot.
You know who this would be good for? This would be good for parents to give kids on long road trips because it keeps their mind active in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Lets them play a game and passes time. Parents with kids on a road trip.
You say long road trips, but what if the Switch battery life doesn't hold?
Just plug it into the car. I'm sure there's an adapter somewhere. I mean, you get a power inverter, so it becomes a wall plug.
You know, I don't know if there is an adapter. There probably is.
There's power inverters. I used to use those to keep my laptops charged in the car at one of my old jobs. You get it like $30-$40 at Walmart or online through Amazon. It's a little thing you plug into the cigarette adapter in a car, and it gives you 2 wall outlets in return.
See, I just didn't know if that would work for a Switch because Nintendo's often been a stickler about allowing third-party stuff to work with their systems.
Well, I mean, as far as charging, that's one place you don't have to worry because as far as AC/DC current, like it's a national standard. They cannot avoid that standard by doing something proprietary. So, like even something like like an iPhone charger. You know, it's a proprietary cable, but it still has to plug into a standard outlet. You know what I mean? They can't change the outlet it goes into, so it would work.
No, but they can change the port on the system to where it has to be a weird designed port where only a particular thing can plug into it.
So you buy that cable and the adapter, and you're good to go.
I mean, I guess you could do that.
How the city develops
But
is totally
as far as this goes,
kind of a big deal.
it looks very detailed. I don't really follow these types of games, so I don't know if it's offering anything that others don't.
So, okay, maybe you guys can tell me. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like it is detailed. I don't know if it's just because my eyes are super sensitive to frame rate changes, but it looks really choppy to me. Like it's not running. Like it looks like it's running at 30 FPS, and that I can't play games at 30. Like that bothers me visually to play low frame rate games.
It does look choppy. I just kind of assumed the final product wouldn't be like that, but I don't really know. Oh, available today. Okay, so the final product is like that. As you can tell, I clearly was not paying attention to that game. Like, I zoned out when that game came up because I didn't care.
That's another reason I avoided a lot of consoles, is because the 30 frame rate cap. I visually cannot handle 30 frame rate for games. Like, I get sick.
I can see that. Some people are that way. Okay, so I'm going to say right off the bat,
I know you're not a mech person.
I'm not a mech person. I will probably not buy this, but it does look cool. I will admit it looks cool. It looks like they're doing a really good job with it. The fact that when you go through battles, you can bring parts back and have them installed to your mech and make all sorts of different designs and whatnot. It's cool.
So I'm not a mech person either, but I have very specific niche targets where I'm okay with mechs. I enjoyed Neon Genesis, for instance. I enjoyed Neon Genesis, and I really liked Armored Core Classic. And watching some of this looks like if Armored Core Classic was made today with a bigger focus on action, this would be the result. So I could see myself playing this.
I could totally see this being a fun game. It looks very well done.
It really does. And it looks really snappy too, and it looks smooth. It doesn't look like that City Skylines.
Yeah, and this is just one of those games that just kind of came out of nowhere. No one expecting it. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit. I do.
I could really enjoy this on a mobile. Look how smooth this gameplay is, though.
Mm-hmm. If it actually looks like that in handheld mode, I expect this to sell really well.
Daemon X Machina launches in 2019.
2019. That looks like a really good game. Considering you were kind of excited for it, you're not a mech person.
Yeah, again, I think it looks good.
Another kids game, I guess.
This is Yoshi. Now...
But, I mean, Yoshi's Island was the furthest thing from a kid-friendly game. Like, difficulty-wise.
Yoshi games are like... They're the hardest to predict. Because you had Yoshi's Island, which is really challenging. Like, not Ninja Gaiden, but really challenging. And then right after you got Yoshi's Story, which, like, a 2-year-old could beat. And then you're back up here, and then you're back down here. You never know with Yoshi.
You never know what to expect, and that can be a problem too. Because I really enjoyed Yoshi's Island, but not knowing if the game is going to be super easy or challenging at all, with it being such a stark difference, like I would hold off until I read more about it after it came out, and I'm sure that's not what they want.
Yeah, but I pretty much have to do that. Like, I want to be excited for this. But I think back to basically the same thing. I love Yoshi's Island. I did not love Yoshi's Story. Just completely removing the difficulty removes the fun for me. But it looks really cute. I can't say it doesn't. But Yoshi games always do. So difficulty is going to be the deciding factor for me.
Oh, they're bringing tabletop gaming in.
Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm not a tabletop person. But I think this is actually a good idea, bringing tabletop-style games, especially if they can release to some kind of compilation here. You don't ever have to set anything up. You don't ever have to clean anything up. And the game handles all the randomizations for you. And if this has online, I think this is a genius idea.
I mean, granted, you could tell it was clearly Hearthstone with a different skin there in the battle, but
Yeah, but it's a board, you know.
Yeah, this is true. Hello, aka Rachel, Southern Songbird. Thanks for coming in.
Welcome, aka Rachel.
We can also confirm that
So,
more is on
this
the
is
way,
kind of the same thing
including one
as
of the most
the
popular
Daemon
board
X
games ever.
Machina thing. It's not my
Dungeon
kind of
Crawler
thing,
on Steve Jackson's
but I
iconic
think it's a
card
great
game,
idea.
Munchkin.
I
Stay
think it'll
tuned.
sell.
I'm learning. I want to learn more about
All
the
great
Munchkin.
creations, even nations,
I've played
become
Munchkin a
invincible.
couple times, but I don't really remember it that well.
All right, what's
Okay.
this?
So this,
Pretty clever intro. I'll be sad if it doesn't live up to the intro.
the intro is clever, but I don't care about this game. I just don't.
I might care about this game.
I thought it was going to be something that interested me, and then I saw what it was.
Civilization.
I don't play Civilization games.
Oh man, but there's so many people who do.
Oh yeah, Hidden Spike Trap plays them.
All right, stop showing me the hype piece. I want to see what the game looks like. Or
You're not going to get to see much of that.
do I not get to see what the game? Okay, hold on. There we go.
Palm of your
Yeah.
hands,
Yeah, that's Civ.
and turn friends
Yeah, it
into
is.
the Power Elite with exclusive 4-player local multiplayer.
That could be great.
It does have local multiplayer, though that seems like it'd be a tough thing to play on such a small screen.
Maybe, but the implications of that are fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Star Fox. Play
Okay, so I'm a little on the fence about this one, Starlink.
Let's see what they do, because they're going to have to try hard to
Let's be honest.
return to what I liked about Star Fox.
You guys need all the help you can get.
See, this is not a Star Fox game.
And Slippy will
Why
provide
not?
much needed backup in the new Nintendo
It just has.
Submissions
See,
only
the game is Starlink,
for Atlas.
and
It looks like Star Fox.
Yes, it does. But Star Fox is only in the Nintendo Switch version.
It's time to lock on. Do a barrel roll.
So, I mean, whether it's actual Star Fox or not, the gameplay is very Star Fox.
Stop you.
Yes, now that is the case, which is why I'm on the fence about it, because Star Fox is one of those series where I can play 64 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this game. And then I can play Assault and I'm like, you know, I'm having fun with this game. And then you have Adventure. I hate this game.
Yep. Yep. I don't like Adventure. Starlink does look good to me, though. It looks like a return
It
to what I
does.
liked about Star Fox.
I'm really interested to see how they work Star Fox into it, though. Like, that's going to be my thing.
Final Remix features an all-new story segment called A New Day.
Okay,
Contains a remix
so
of Shibuya.
back to
So you'll really
ports.
have to scramble to escape the
Remastered,
area.
The World Ends With
Face
You.
Glacier.
I didn't play this
Multiple here as
game.
well, and
I
Solo the
assume it's
Frankfurt
great for
Token.
people who did.
The World Ends With
I
You
know Hidden
final
Spike
remix
Trap is
launches
excited.
October 12th.
Why?
I don't know if
Okay,
it-
why?
Before then,
Hold on.
guide a group of
Hold on. I just want to look at chat here. Hidden Spike Trap is really excited, and I don't even know why. I don't know anything about that
She
game.
loves Pooey. She really does.
She looks like she would like a Twooey.
As far as I know, the remastered version, other than being data remastered, adds like one extra chapter or segment or whatever. But because I don't know anything about the game, I don't know what that means.
Legendary warriors on a journey through the tragic history.
Now, this I could get behind.
drove a hero down a dark path.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This is another series I'm on the fence about. It looks really good, but I don't know if I would like it or not because I've never gotten to play it.
And their masters, the drivers. Newcomers will have the perfect place to start.
So this is basically an update for the game that adds a bunch of new stuff. So it's great to hear that they're still working on it. I guess I never really got to try it because of GameStop's scummy tactics with the first Xenoblade, if you remember that.
What's that? I got sucked in.
Oh, pause it for a sec. I never got to play Xenoblade because of GameStop's scummy tactics about it. They intentionally held back copies of the game and said it was a low shipment, only to come back later and charge you a lot more for it when they say, we got in more.
Yeah, that seems a bit shady to me.
So I never got to play the original. And without playing the original first, I don't want to play the second one. But it looks like something that I would enjoy.
Everyone in the chat is saying anime boobs, so, I mean...
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it looks like you'd enjoy it. Now, this one This is kind of exciting. Oh, what is that?
Just Dance?
That's
Oh,
no, not
I
Just
didn't know
Dance.
you were the type.
No, I take it all back.
So we're getting a clip of that, right?
No, hold on. No. Why is the Warframe one so short?
Free-to-play co-op space ninja action when war
Why is the Warframe one so short?
Get down to Camila Cabello.
Oh my
Come on,
God.
and more anytime, anywhere.
Oh yeah,
Just
somebody's
Dance
already
2019
clipping it.
October 23rd.
Screw Just Dance.
2019 is fast approaching, and you can pre-purchase it on Nintendo eShop
Why does
tomorrow.
Just Dance sell as well as it does? It actually sells crazy well.
I don't
Why?
know.
As a team and win as a team in Team Sonic Racing, launching this winter.
Don't
So,
care about
yeah.
Sonic Racing.
The highest
No,
rated basketball
Sonic
franchise
Racing
is back.
is usually well regarded, but I don't know anything.
is available
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's fun for the people who like it, but it's just not my kind of thing.
Jam and
The
Oh,
only thing I do have to say is that this is supposed to be like an NBA Jam successor.
coming this
that could be good. Look at
That
that.
could be good.
play as the Joker, Harley.
And then this.
I will say, I'm not a big fan of the Lego games, but I will say they are really well done. Typically.
They are, but I'm kind of in the same board. I don't really care about them.
Crystal.
So this is
Why did it have to be Crystal Chronicles, man? I didn't like Crystal Chronicles.
like the Final Fantasy segment of the stream, and I'm with you. I don't like Crystal Chronicles at all. I rented it. I played it like 2 days out of the 7 that Blockbuster allotted you, and then I just kind of went back to something else.
You
It's
did
like,
it a
man.
day longer than me. I did it for an afternoon, and I was just found myself not having fun.
Well, I played it when I initially brought it home. The first thing I always do whenever I have to try it out immediately. I can't wait. I have to go home right then. And I played it. And I'm like, not only is this not Final Fantasy, this is not fun to me. And so I put it away. And I went back to the next day. I'm like, maybe I'm being too harsh because it's not what I think of a Final Fantasy. Let me go into it with a fresh mindset. Still wasn't enjoying it. Like,
Yeah.
I know people do, but I don't like this game.
Yeah, it wasn't my kind of game. I know Dragon Mom really liked this
15
game,
years
so
after its debut, the co-op action RPG
So I'm going to say the Final Fantasy segment of this is pretty bad. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way.
New online
Um,
multiplayer. You and your friends
This,
connect
at least
adventures
from what I noticed, other than the online multi,
required. On top of
it's
that,
one of those,
there are new
okay, it's a
areas
port.
with
Why am I
secret
rebuying it?
so even returning fans
Eh.
can explore the unknown. Final Fantasy Crystal
So,
Chronicles Remastered
because I don't like this, I thought that would be the
2019.
worst part of this.
Way
It
before
wasn't.
what
you
is
can experience
this?
the entire world and story of
Was
the
that
latest
Cloud?
entry in the core series.
This is Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition.
Why are they
This
all
is-
chibi?
Launches
It's a
later today.
port of a mobile game based on Final Fantasy 15, which a lot of people didn't like, with the features stripped out.
Okay, but look at the little cloud. I have to get this game just because I couldn't stop smiling.
That's a different game.
Oh yeah, I know, but still, look at
Newfound favorites will show up
look at the little people.
Final Fantasy Max.
Yeah, you might want to pause it.
Look at the little people. Oh
So
my
that's World
god.
of Final Fantasy Maxima. It looks cute. It looks funny, but I don't really know anything about it. I just wanted to address 15 Pocket Edition real quick.
Okay.
So you have a game that gets. Oh my gosh! Am I gonna have to wait for you?
I'm sorry, the little people, man.
The little people. Yeah, we're about to get flagged.
Oh, okay. The vertically challenged cloud. We'll put. It's like a little bite. Seems like a Happy Meal.
My name is
size.
Cloud. I have a sword.
Oh my! I'm more upset that both of you were singing that at the same time. All
I
right.
don't like. The only reason I know the words to that is because of her. So, 15. Despite what people like Ray will tell you, Final Fantasy 15 is not a good game. I'm sorry, it's not. Go look it up.
I dropped off the Final Fantasy chain way back in like 9 and 10.
15 was an incredibly disappointing game. So, what do? they released it as Pocket Edition, which has a ton of the story and stuff stripped out of it, and everyone is cartoonified and chibi. Then Nintendo comes along and says, you know what? We want that mobile game. Let's port it to the Switch. So you're getting a game that no one really thought was a great game, remixed into a mobile game with features stripped out, ported to the Switch. You just can't help it, can you?
Look at this.
You know,
How is this not?
I think I'm done. I think you can move on.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
This title includes a new feature.
Look at the little cloud.
Legendary characters from across the series' storied history.
There's nothing I can add to it.
Look at the little thing.
When it releases,
I'm gonna have to get that for no other reason.
Chocobo's Dungeon is on the way.
Oh my god.
2007's Final
So
Fantasy
this
Tables
is
Chocobo's Dungeon returns in
Pokemon
superior
Mystery
fashion.
Dungeon with Chocobo.
Now, you can befriend
I'm
all
okay
of
with
them.
that.
That's all that really needs to be said. If you like Mystery Dungeon, get it. If you don't, stay away from it.
Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon. Every
It doesn't have the chibis that Maxima has. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's all right. Nothing after this can really.
is coming to a Nintendo
excite me
system
as
for the
much.
first time. Its real-time battle
So
system
this one
is
kind of
set up
confuses me because I never got to play the original Final Fantasy XII, but wasn't it a turn-based RPG?
It was.
including a speed
Or was it always an action RPG
It was.
like this?
It was always an action. It's weird. It's like a tactical action.
and now you can explore it on the couch.
That
or on
is
the go.
weird.
It's a very strange marriage of the two. You really have to play it to understand how it goes. I had a friend, Raph, that played the hell out of it.
Later on.
Wait, what? Hold on.
You'll also
They got
be
my
able to enjoy
attention.
these other classics.
No, they don't, and I'll tell you why
Their
afterward.
iconic scenes, anytime, anywhere.
Okay, why do you say iconic scenes?
Final Fantasy VII, 9, and 10.2 HD Remaster are coming to Nintendo Switch. in
That's
2019.
good though.
I thought this was exciting too, until I found out they're also
For the ultimate
ports.
fan.
They're not remade
If you
games.
love the Super Smash
They're
Bros.
like the mobile and
series,
Steam
check this
versions
thing
of-
out.
Wow. I'll just play it on Steam with my HD texture packs then.
There you go. You might as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Hardware bundle for Super Smash Bros.
This
is on the
actually
way.
kind of makes me upset.
What? Why?
This
Look at that. That's cool.
dock features fighters
Okay,
from
the
original Super
decals,
Smash Brothers game.
That is
Of course,
cool.
the set also
However,
includes
one,
download code
I already
for
have a
Super Smash
Switch.
Brothers Ultimate.
Two,
There's no
the
better
game
way
is
to show your
digital
love for the
only,
game.
as you can see.
Yep.
And the set
And
also
three,
comes
when you
with
keep
a
going,
your
I'll
hands on.
mention that. Three, it comes with the Smash Brothers Joy-Cons, which is just that. Like, that's it. It's so boring. and
It's
plain.
gray. It's gray with two white stripes.
November 2nd.
Yeah.
You can pre-order
It looks
So-
like the Switch and the Joy-Con. Like actually looking at it, I think they chose to put it on the worst box. You have this huge colorful box, and then you have that. It almost looks like a low definition. Like takes away from the entire point of it.
I'll tell you why I hate this, though. So, the UK is getting its own bundle that just comes with the game
Right.
and a GameCube controller adapter and GameCube controller, which
That
is
sounds
exactly what I'd want.
That's what everyone I think stateside wants too.
That's what we all want, but we're not getting that here. We're getting this instead.
Really? So
Why?
you have to buy the GameCube and all that, the controller and all that.
Yeah,
Separate. Wow.
special bundle later today.
right.
November 2nd
That's
is
garbage.
also the day you can get your
I agree.
own GameCube controller adapter.
Is it region locked though? Like can you just buy the UK version?
As far as I know, it's not region locked. However, websites such as Amazon UK have said they will not ship it here.
Hey, you know what? Okay. Hidden Spy Trap saying stupid UK lucky ass hats. Stupid Amazon UK. Let me tell you something. I think we can give them this. Have you seen
Yeah.
Have you seen the kind of insects they have out there? What they have to deal with day in and day out? Let me tell you, I watched a video on YouTube. Man, they have some if you ever want to be freaked the hell out. Not Hidden Spy Trap because I know she's got a thing with bugs, but For anyone not hidden Spike Trap, look up what kind of insects they have in UK.
Oh my gosh.
There are some alien-looking out there. So they're like fighting tooth and nail to stay alive from insect infestation. I'm okay with them having this to get through the hard times.
Now, we'll admit for our UK viewers, they do often get the bad side of the equation. They do often get skimped on collections and stuff. We usually get the better deals, and then Japan, and then them. So I understand this happening, but why not just give the UK bundle to everyone? Why keep it just there? Like, I never thought it was a good idea to give us all the stuff and give them nothing.
That's true. I think it's better to have like the same special everywhere. I mean, I get that there's like market research and whatnot, but it's clear that wasn't the case for the bundle here. They would have known they preferred the other.
So here's the big finale.
All right, the moment we've all been waiting for.
I'll just let it play.
Is this what I think it is?
Yeah.
How was Chibi Final Fantasy not the big reveal? Not actual gameplay footage, it said at the bottom. They're going to pull an Ubisoft on us.
You'll see. This.
I feel like this is an Animal Crossing game.
I can see why you'd think it's an Animal Crossing game. Because she's an Animal Crossing character in an Animal Crossing building.
Look at that happy face. Look at that sad face. Okay. Fine. Don't let me like be happy about your happy face. Dang, Pete must smoke. Did you hear Pete talk? He sounds like a smoker.
Everyone in Animal Crossing has weird sounds for their voices, though. But yeah, they all sound...
She's all like... Blah, 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 and he's like... Blah, 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 blah. What the... Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
This is the big reveal.
Okay, but this is huge. I want to play this character just because of how mad it's going to make people to lose to that face.
I think they're already mad enough just that she's in the game. I was watching live for this, and when this was shown, the negativity erupted. People were mad.
I don't know why. I don't see the problem.
I'll tell you why. Because everyone got their hopes up looking at subtle hints that they thought Sakurai was dropping, expecting other characters, and they got that. And it just disappointed them all so much they raged out.
That's me after the show every Saturday. I'm like instantly spent.
That's actually most of the internet after the Isabel.
I don't have a problem with Animal Crossing coming to Smash. I was like in thinking about it, I feel like it should have happened sooner, really. People need to watch their expectations.
Okay, so I'm going to try to play this as close to the middle of the field as I can. I'm not an Animal Crossing fan.
Me neither.
So, like, I can't get excited for the character, but I understand people that do like Animal Crossing being excited. So I actually thought up 3 pro and anti comments to make regarding Isabel, just to be fair.
All right, let's hear this fair and balanced news
Okay,
from Utility News Worldwide.
For starters, I do want to say, for those of you wanting Isabel, your character is most likely an advertisement character. Remember Corrin from Smash Brothers 4? She was nothing but an advertisement for her Fire Emblem game that was not out yet. I see Isabel as an advertisement character for the new Animal Crossing.
Okay.
So, to counter that, while that is true, it's Animal Crossing. It's like one of the biggest selling Nintendo franchises. It's in the top 10. I think it's actually right at number 10.
So barely hanging in there.
But it is in the top 10. And some of the other series is like Game & Watch. You had no more to pull from that. You had the Wii series. You didn't really have anything else to pull from that.
I mean, Smash Brothers is like the rally point for characters from all over the spectrum that normally wouldn't belong together go into Smash Brothers. Like, I don't see how Isabelle counters that in any way. Like, it fits to put Isabelle in Smash Brothers. Even if you don't like Isabelle, even if you don't want to play her, even if you think she's a dumb character, it still fits the mantra of what Smash Brothers is. I don't see a problem with it.
Now that leads into my second thing, actually. Nintendo Smash Brothers is a big crossover event. It's only likely they're going to prioritize first-party characters. And since Animal Crossing is such a popular series, why would they not pull something else from it? That being said, though, because of the negative reception I see about this, it feels like even with as big as Animal Crossing is, it may not have a lot of overlap with the Smash Brothers fan base. So do kind of understand why a lot of Smash fans are upset about it. This would be like if you took Marvel vs. Capcom and you put Mickey Mouse in it.
Well, like, what was the response we got from Street Fighter V when they added Mr. Huge covers the health bars, he's so tall? It was kind of the same thing. What was it, Abigail?
Yes, but the difference there is that they already had Final Fight characters in the series, so it's not like that was a new thing. I don't see the argument though. Like, sure, maybe it doesn't fit home with the Smash crowd, but I don't think that was ever the point. Like, pretty much anyone and everyone kind of gets into Smash Brothers at some point, it seems like. I mean, it's true. They brought Inkling over. They brought Ridley over due to a lot of requests. So that's kind of the thing. I understand a lot of people being upset because a lot of Smash fans are not also Animal Crossing fans, but it is still a big franchise. And that brings me to my third thing. So up to this point, I had been checking a lot of character ballots that fans and things did, some getting hundreds of votes, some getting thousands of votes.
Right.
Isabelle was never at the top of any of them. Never.
So, okay.
She was never heavily requested.
I see what's going on. Yeah, so everyone assumed that because they got together and had these popularity contests for themselves, that Nintendo would see that and say, "Oh, that's more popular. We should do that." So, like, that's a like a creative control choice where players, in some sense, want to be the developer in a way.
Well,
and, I mean, there's justification there because if it's popular, sure, you want to go to whatever's popular. You want to go to what your players want.
Nintendo's kind of responsible for that beast, though, which is my counterpoint to this. Back when Smash 4 was the thing, Nintendo had the character ballot. I'm sure you remember that.
Yep.
In which they lied and said Bayonetta won, and
there was a lot of drama with the character ballots.
So that's why K. Rool is in this game, because he was so heavily requested on Nintendo's official character ballot. So after getting Simon, which was a legendary character, and getting Ridley, who was really requested, and K. Rool, who was massively requested, everybody just kind of assumed, okay, Nintendo is actually listening to us.
They were setting the trend of expectation.
Right. But what people forget, though, is that because Isabelle was an assist trophy in Smash 4, you could not vote for her. So we don't know, really. In fan-made polls, no, she never does well, but we have no idea how she would have done in an official Nintendo poll.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here nor there. I'm very careful to gauge my own expectation, but I do think that there is a part that companies need to take for gauging and controlling expectation? I mean, you see the problems all over the place. Like they say they probably won't release a Half-Life 3 because at this point the expectation's so high you'll never live up to it. Things like that. No Man's Sky, the expectation was through the roof. So even if they did release a better game than what came out, it wasn't going to live up to expectations. In this case, you got a situation where you get your community thinking that you're going strictly off of what they want, but you never communicate that that's not the only thing we're going to be pulling from. So when something like Isabel happens, it's a huge blowback. Like, I think they just need some damn Pete Hines up in there talking to the community. That's what they need.
Well, I think a lot of people felt burned by the Bayonetta thing because we knew back then there's no way she won that poll, and they lied and said she did.
Yeah.
So we all felt like, you're asking for our opinion, but it doesn't really matter to you. And then the new Smash comes around, and like you're putting in this character we asked for, and this character we asked for, and this character we asked for. You're listening to us. And then Isabel, and it's like we didn't want her. Like, I can't be upset because, like I said, Animal Crossing is a popular series. It deserved another rap. It very much did. But at the same time, I am somewhat disappointed because I had expectations myself. And because it seemed like Nintendo was listening to us, I expected to get more of the really popular requests, which more often than not aligned with what I wanted anyway.
Now, if before they released Isabel, if they had like their own version of Pete Hines come out and say, we've added a lot of characters that have been done by request and listed them off, like here's Simon, here's Richter, here's K. Rool, all these people that are highly requested. So now we're going to add some more fun characters in, maybe not necessarily that were on the poll. Do you think that maybe the disappointment would be the same when Isabel was announced?
I don't think it would have been the same if they had been very outspoken about not every new character is going to be based on what you said you wanted. But furthermore, I think this could have been solved by not waiting so long to show off Isabel. Because you had the Ridley reveal, who had his own big cinematically done trailer, and then you had the Simon one, and the trailer for that's amazing, and you had K. Rool's, and it's another amazing trailer, and then you had his kind of some text boxes, and so lazily done. If they had showed off Isabel before those other characters, I don't think the negativity would have been so high.
Well, that's kind of like
what did it.
The rule of management, right? Like if you need to get onto an employee about something, you give them the compliment sandwich. You say something good, then you say where maybe they can improve or they're absolute shit, but you don't tell them that. And then you say something good to end it off, the compliment sandwich. It's a very standardized structure, and it sounds to me like maybe they didn't do this right. They didn't do the compliment sandwich. Like if they released Isabel in between K. Rool and Richter Simon, I think the optics would be a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually feel like we had this discussion a few weeks ago. So, my personal opinion, I don't think Isabel's a bad addition to the game. But at the same time, I can't say I'm excited for her, that I want her. I obviously don't. Like, I'd rather stick with characters that I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not confused about the backlash that she's getting, but it's great for the Animal Crossing fans because they only had the one character so far.
Yep, I can definitely feel that. Welcome back, Constantine. So, does that? Did you have any other statements on the Nintendo Direct as a whole, or what are you excited for the most?
I mean, still Smash Brothers, even after not liking that. But if you want to take Smash Brothers out, probably Mega Man 11.
That is kind of hype. I'm looking forward to that.
Just because I've been waiting so long for another real Mega Man.
If you stream that when it comes out, if you can figure out a way to stream that, I would definitely play it. So Hidden Spike Trap's looking forward to Katamari with like all caps. What are you guys looking forward to out of what you've seen on the Nintendo Direct? I'm curious to hear that. In the meantime, if you want to come and chat with us, we do have a Discord server. All the cool people do these days. Down there, you can see the link in the video and in the panels, I believe. Discord.fortiscoregaming.com. Find us on Twitter at FortisCore. And if you want to support us, we have a couple of ways to do that. You can support us through Twitch with subscribing for $5 a month. That goes a long way to helping us empower our community. You could also go through Patreon for Warp Stage 3 if you want to buy us a drink in particular for $1 a month. Or the best way to support us is literally just join our Discord and be a part of our growing community. I think that's the biggest thing. You don't have to give us a dime, but we definitely want to hear more from you guys. So come on in and join it. I think that pretty much covers it. So this was Warp Stage 3 with 2 people today. Again,
Warp Stage 2.
Warp Stage 2. So again, I am Frosthaven. That was Utility Man.
Utility Man.
Yep. For now. And I think...
My God. You know... Wow.
Oh my God, you see that? I can't do it anymore. I can't.
I bet you didn't even mute yourself, did you?
Oh my God. No, I didn't. No, the outro's going right now.
You know, I'm not